Chicago Bulls schooled the Utah Jazz in the NBA Finals by 4-2. This is the rematch. In the red corner is Michael Jordan, the greatest player to ever bounce a ball. In the blue is Karl Malone, determined for revenge. He's already led the Jazz to the best record in the regular season, and Utah have continued to dominate in the playoffs. The question is, has Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls' reign finally come to an end? Welcome to the NBA Finals. I'm delighted to say back live on Channel 4, and we've got ourselves another Super Series. Alongside me, John Amici, formerly of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nice to see you again, John.
Nice to see you, Webber.
And we're in this situation here, a game one, which isn't always that important. Suddenly, it could be a big one, because Utah, let's start with them, they've been sat down for 10 days.
Yeah, they've had 10 days rest. Now, in some circumstances, this is really tough for a team, but you know, the benchmark of the Utah teams is experience and being cerebral. So I think it might be overplayed as a factor in this.
They have, of course, been saying that as well. They've been training hard, but they've still had to watch the Bulls go through their motions. And, you know, what are you going to do with yourself in that time?
It's always difficult when another team, your competitor for the finals, is playing and you're sitting at home, you're trying to be intense playing against each other. It's never the same spirit. But with so much at stake, it would be hard to believe that Utah would come out here not ready to play. OK, so
Utah had the slightly easier run in here. Chicago, well, they did it the hard way. So it was down to the decider for the Eastern Conference Finals. The question was, could Larry Bird, Reggie Miller and the rest of the Pacer team do the unthinkable and beat the Bulls at the United Center? Well, it was Reggie and co who got off to an early lead, with Dale Davis coming up big and point guard Mark Jackson finding his shooting touch.
Pippen trying to thwart Jackson as he has most of the series. Smits gives it back to Jackson, who hits the baseline J. Davis again, double team, so he gets it out to Jackson for three.
Incredibly, the Bulls found themselves 13 points behind, and things were looking decidedly ominous for the home team. Not for the first time, it was down to their leader to get the Bulls back in the race, but he didn't have to go it alone. So often the player that promised much but didn't always deliver, it was Tony Kukoc who took the weight off of Jordan's shoulders with a huge third quarter.
Deals it out to Harper. Kukoc feeling it and running. His second consecutive three.
But of course Mike was still getting his, and through the sheer determination of his airness, Chicago pulled within 3 late in the fourth.
Can't put it down. Loose ball tipped out to Pippen. Kerr can tie it, and does.
But Indiana wouldn't lie down. Reggie Miller, constantly the thorn in the Bulls' side, kept them in it. But Chicago didn't lose their nerve as their veteran side continued to pile on the pressure on the Pacers.
Chicago leads it, 81-79.
So in spite of Bird's men's valiant efforts, Jackson's Bulls knew too much down the stretch, and Michael led his team to their 3rd successive NBA final. So a fabulous rookie year for Larry Bird, got Coach of the Year as a result of that, and they really did give the Bulls a hard test. The Bulls are an old team. Is that hurt?
They're an older team, but with that comes experience, and you know, when you've got the greatest player on the planet, and also a wizard of a coach, you really can't take too many detractions from that.
They definitely didn't want to go to Game 7. They've given themselves a few days off. Is that extra game a bigger factor than it just being one more game?
It's always a factor when you really have to battle through a series and play the full extent, but we've already said with Utah, they're worried because they've had too much time off. And so really, when it comes to the finals, neither team's going to be as comfortable as they'd like to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as we've discussed already, we've said that Utah had the slightly easier route. Let's give it a full picture now. Let's see how both teams made it through the playoffs. In round 1, Utah were given their toughest test by the Houston Rockets. Hakeem and Charles took the Jazz to a deciding game.
Down court, Stockton steals. Stockton on the run. Stockton to the load. Lay it up and in.
Round 2 saw Malone's men face the Twin Towers of San Antonio. Despite some tight games, Utah dropped only 1.
They'll Negro, left to right. Pulls out. Ball not free. Stockton's got it. Stockton on the steal. Right side of Shannon. Cross-court Russell. Underneath. Laying up and in. Jazz on the way to the Western Conference Finals.
In the conference finals, the Jazz were up against the form side of the playoffs, the LA Lakers. But Shaq's men disappointed, and Utah swept the Lakers 4-0.
Mailman raises. Off-balance shot. Go! He's fouled!
Foster with a jam and one, and that'll do it. And the sweep is complete.
Chicago's road to the finals started with a convincing 3-0 victory over the emerging New Jersey Nets. It looked like business as usual for the Bulls.
Basket and a foul.
Michael Jordan is unconscious. Incredible.
Next up were the Charlotte Hornets. After a strong regular season, they couldn't match that form against the Bulls. Glenn Rice and MJ went at it, but there was only ever one winner.
Michael around Demons.
Mike, great big jumper right side. Bang! Bang! The world champion Chicago Bulls have eliminated the Charlotte Hornets.
In the conference finals, the Bulls faced the Indiana Pacers, coached by Larry Bird and inspired by freewheeling, pure shooting Reggie Miller.
Gets it in the middle for the win.
Here's Michael with the steal, and Chicago with the lead.
Mullen trying to follow. Harper shoves it back in his face. Here's a 3-on-1 break. Who goes for Hello. But what Michael Jordan turned a bump in the road was anything but. It was a mountain to climb.
So that's how both teams did it. And interestingly enough, John, subsequently since then, last couple of days, Michael Jordan has pronounced the Bulls underdogs for the NBA Finals.
Well, I think he's playing games with people. Anytime that anybody says the Bulls are going to be an underdog in a series, it's very doubtful. As, again, the greatest player on the planet.
Yeah.
They've always got a good chance.
That's indeed. And in fact, Karl Malone was also reported to have responded to that by saying, yeah, right. OK, still to come, we have for you the starting lineups and then game one as we bring you those NBA Finals live. We'll be coming up after the break with all of the action, so make sure you stay with us. It's the NBA Finals live. It is game one. Chicago are in Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Jazz. And, John, we've talked there about Utah having a nice rest, Chicago coming in quite late. I think probably we've got a game one here, unlike many game ones before. This is a really big game.
For sure. This is a huge series for both teams. I think both teams are under the impression that this is their last shot at true greatness. And certainly for Karl Malone, he's not going to want to miss out on this opportunity. Game one is going to be a precedent setter. It's going to set the tone for the rest of the series. And so I think it's going to be very intense.
Chicago actually come in with what many consider the more useful sequence. This one is a best of 7. It goes 2 here in Salt Lake City. 3 in Chicago, 2 back if you need them, obviously. If they can get Utah on a bit of a bit sleepy, game one, it couldn't get much better, could it?
It's a great confidence builder. They believe if they can snatch one in Utah with 3 at their home court where they feel very invincible, or at least very strong, they feel that they've got a good chance to take the series in less than 7 games.
And there's always this principle that, it's always nice to win one away, but the idea is to do it on your home court. And game one, therefore, is often dispensable. You suspect Phil Jackson isn't thinking like that, don't you?
No, not this series. I think they really want to take charge from the beginning if they can. So do Utah, but certainly Chicago, away from home, they want to get out there, really come out strong early, which is something they haven't done in the previous series, and try and take control. Jordan, obviously, is the man, and that is that. But in the playoffs, in the run to the playoffs, we have actually seen, perhaps for the first time in the long years, the bench starting to work a bit harder. Scott Burrell coming off looking like a bit of a factor. Kukoc and Rodman swapping around, playing different roles. Randy Brown coming in looking like a big defender. Do you think this is have to be a Bulls team performance, perhaps for the first time? Definitely. I think Phil Jackson has made a real effort to get his bench involved, and I think he believes it's essential for the team's success, for his bench to be very strong. It's the same as Utah. They both have very strong benches, and in many ways it'll be a battle between those two. Utah, of course, have always used their bench to great effect. You hardly notice the starting five's gone away sometimes. True. And it is that same squad. Do you feel it is, which is always their factor, is it the same old, same old? Are we going to get the same old Jazz? Well, I don't think we should expect to see any different plays. It's going to be Stockton, Malone, but more than before in other series, we're going to see other players like Greg Foster and Osatag chipping in with important offensive moments.
Lovely. Well, John, we'll be hearing from John a little bit later on there. But I'm delighted to say that what we've got for ourselves now is our very own commentary team there at the Delta Centre in Salt Lake City. And I'm handing over now to our man at courtside. He is Iron Eagle.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. It's Iron Eagle along with Mike O'Koren here at the Delta Center. Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals is coming up, and a lot of anticipation for this matchup, Mike. The Delta Center is sold out. These two teams met in the finals a year ago, and these fans, all 19,000 of them, have not forgotten about what took place. Chicago won the series in 6 games.
That's exactly right. I really believe, man to man, if these guys that are wearing the Utah Jazz uniform feel that they can dethrone the Chicago Bulls in this series, and this game looms very important, and we'll get into that.
The Bulls, so experienced, they've won 5 championships over the last 7 years. They are looking for their 3rd consecutive title. All the action coming up from the Delta Center. Let's send it back to Mark in the studio.
Thanks very much indeed there, chaps. And we were hearing there, of course, as the guys were saying, is that, you know, Game 6, there was a phenomenal performance from Jordan again. Off his dodgy pizza is all he needed to get himself up for that big game and win that one down in Utah. We saw an incredible series last time. Are we going to go the same way? Is it going to be that close?
Oh, I think so. Again, there's a sense of urgency for both these teams, and they both want to get this ring really badly, perhaps before Michael Jordan retires, perhaps before the Stockton and Malone duo is finished in Utah.
Psychologically, have Utah gone through a season looking at a Bulls team thinking this isn't as good as the Bulls team that we played last year?
You know, I think everybody's been looking at the Bulls team and thinking, you know, they're not quite as invulnerable, they're not quite as impossible to beat as they have been. But when it comes to a finals, you know, you can talk about experience with Stockton and Malone, but the fact is Chicago's got all the experience of winning.
This is the point. And as we said earlier on, a massive Game 1 for you, and it's coming up for you real soon. So Game 1 of the NBA Finals is soon to come. The players are now obviously out on the court, getting prepared to be introduced to the Salt Lake City crowd. And John, that Delta Center, we've stood in there. Noisy or what?
They're going to be extremely noisy. It's not surprising that, you know, the Delta Center fans, the Utah fans, they're not going to really like Chicago too much, especially considering last year's series. And they know, everybody realizes the importance of this first game. It's going to be very intense.
They've tried to bake Dennis Rodman often in there, and he's responded. He's a big crucial factor for him this time around. And once again, the Utah Jazz have been having a quiet pop at him, saying he's not the player he was. This is his kind of game, isn't it?
Certainly. And one of the good things about Dennis this year is that he's appeared to be a lot more under control. His technicals are down, his overall fouls are down. I think he realizes the importance of him being on the floor, not just in terms of his rebounding, but in the way he gets inside other players' minds. Yeah,
because it was last year when we were down, he managed to jump on an airplane and go and do a bit of gambling up in Vegas, didn't he? So do you suspect he's slightly more focused this time around?
We would hope so. I think I've heard comments about him saying things about Vegas again, but I would imagine that's after he's got his ring.
And just on Rodman, as far as I can see this season, we've seen a better all-round player this time as well. I mean, they've involved him a lot more of the offensive play as well.
Certainly. Nowadays in the NBA, you can't afford to be just a one-dimensional player, even if you are the greatest rebounder that there is. And he's certainly been more involved in passing the ball and also in finishing some crucial plays.
We talked earlier on about how Utah is such a strong squad, and they've needed to be to a great extent as well, because I suspect there might be a quiet problem with John Stockton, who's not been, you know, that complete foil to Karl Malone all season, been carrying injuries, not necessarily been fit. There's going to be a worry for him, isn't it?
Yeah, not being the real tremendous athlete that some other players are, he relies a lot on his finesse and his headiness. So when you're carrying injuries and you're not a great athlete, it does detract from your game somewhat.
And we've often talked about Chicago. It's our old colleague Scoop Jackson's favourite phrase. They're a great third-quarter team, but they're going to need to actually be a great team from the first quarter, aren't they?
Yeah, in this first game, it's going to be essential that they come out strong from the very beginning.
Absolutely. Well, John, thanks very much indeed. Time now to get back to Salt Lake City for this Game 1 for you. The team's about to be introduced, so let me introduce you once again to Iron.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Inside the Delta Center, they are ready for the rematch. The 1998 NBA Finals. Jerry Sloan and the Utah Jazz looking for their first ever championship. The Chicago Bulls, of course, so experienced. They are searching for championship number 6. It's time for the starting lineups. The Jazz and the Bulls from the Delta Center, Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. The Bulls players clogging up their ears. It is deafening inside the Delta Center as these fans get ready for Game 1 of the Finals. The Utah Jazz players being announced. Greg Foster getting the start at center. What a terrific pickup he has turned out to be. And of course, the future Hall of Famers. John Stockton at one guard position. Jeff Hornacek at the other. And Karl Malone, the mailman. Last year, the MVP of the NBA. He might have even had a better season this year. Head coach Jerry Sloan, he's been to the playoffs 10 consecutive years. He was such a hard-nosed player, and he has been able to translate that style to his players. Let's take another look at the lineup with Stockton and Hornacek on the backcourt, Malone, Foster, and Brian Russell up front for the defending Western Conference champion, Utah Jazz. And now the banner. They won the Western Conference Championship last season. They were able to repeat here in 1998, but they certainly are not content with just that. They want to win the whole thing. They'll have to defeat this team, the Chicago Bulls. Ron Harper, Michael Jordan starting in the backcourt, Scottie Pippen, Luke Longley, and Mike, a bit of a surprise, Tony Kukoc getting the start at forward.
Yeah, Phil Jackson looking for some offense with Kukoc in the starting lineup. I think Luke Longley will guard Karl Malone then. But that will put Luke Longley in foul trouble. And then Rodman probably comes in the game. Their best lineup is with Rodman, Kukoc, and Pippen up front, of course, with Jordan and Harper in the backcourt.
The fans waiting as they unveil the 1997-98 Western Conference champion, Utah Jazz, up in the rafters here at the Delta Center. We are just moments away from the start of the 1998 NBA Finals. As the players take the floor, it is a pleasure to be with you on Channel 4, bringing you all the action live here from Salt Lake City. The first 2 games of this 7-game series will be held here in Utah, and then Michael Jordan and the Bulls will be the home team with the next 3 games, if necessary, at the United Center in Chicago. Then, if this series is pushed to a 6th and 7th game, they will return to Salt Lake City to determine who will be the 1998 NBA champions. Michael Buffer is here. He is a very popular man here in the United States for his signature call, "Let's get ready to rumble." Known around the world in boxing circles, he has made his way into some other arenas, including this one. Michael Jordan has been in a fight or two in his day.
And he's ready to go along with that man there, the mailman, Karl Malone, who Utah fans here want him to deliver a championship.
So we're ready. It is the Jazz and the Bulls. Steve Javie, Bennett Salvatore, Ron Garrettson, the officials. Getting ready to jump it up, Luke Longley and Greg Foster. And we're underway, the 1998 NBA Finals. The Bulls control the tap. They're wearing their road red uniforms. You see Utah in their signature white uniforms that they wear here at home. Pippen looks inside, the fadeaway by Jordan, no good. Foster couldn't grab it. Longley for Kukoc, the jump shot. Grazes the rim, and the Jazz have the rebound.
Two quick shots by Chicago. Stockton with the ball, looks to push it up. And this guy right there taking a shot on Greg Foster could be a mystery for Chicago. He's a pretty good perimeter shooter. And you see the smartness of Stockton there. He gets the rebound, he dribbles it right back out, and they'll go into that screen and roll offense with Malone.
A new shot clock. Malone can't hit the jumper. Foster, a couple of pump fakes. The ball swept away and out of bounds.
No surprise that there's missed shots. 4 missed shots already. The Jazz have been off for 10 days. We'll talk about that. But Chicago took 2 long jumpers. There was a bit of a delay after warm-ups. No surprise that the players will miss shots early.
And some action away from the ball. Our first foul has been called, and it's Tony Kukoc.
Yeah, off the ball foul line before the pass came in from out of bounds, which means in the NBA, there's 2 free throws. Although there weren't 5 personal fouls, which would mean you're in a penalty to shoot to, Russell will get 2 free throws because the ball was not inbounded.
Russell cannot hit the first. We are still looking for our first points here in the finals. Brian Russell against the Chicago Bulls. He has had success. And that's it. The first point of this series scored by the Utah Jazz.
And now Chicago, Pippen does a lot of the ball handling. And now it's the triangle offense. You see 2 guys with Jordan inside.
Ron Harper controlling. He's guarded by Stockton. Stockton much smaller. Jordan on a back in on Hornacek. Shot clock is down to 6. Kukoc forced to put it on the floor. Pass to the corner. Harper with 1 to shoot. He gets the shot off and knocks it down.
You have 24 seconds to shoot when you get the ball. And Ron Harper used 23.5 seconds and finally got the shot up.
The Bulls have their first lead. Just over a minute gone by here in the first quarter. Stockton out on the perimeter, the bounce pass for Malone. What a tandem they have been. Malone on a fadeaway. Ball knocked around and controlled by Chicago. Kukoc pushing the pace. Harper the trailer for the pull-up jumper.
Yeah, long rebound. Malone shot the ball from around 15, 16 feet. It was a long rebound. Chicago likes to push it up, and they get Harper for a nice little look.
A lot of talk has been centered around the rust factor as Stockton drives right to the rim.
He made penetration iron. No one helped out Harper on that play. Stockton likes to go left. There was no help. You usually don't see that with Chicago's half-court defense, but it opened up there.
So important for Utah to get off to the good start after the 10-day layoff. Longley will back in on Malone, and he lost the ball out of bounds.
That went right off his leg. Malone reaches in a lock defensively. He likes to slap at the basketball. He slapped it off Longley's leg. Longley very late dribbling the ball down there.
The Bulls with a 4-3 lead. Stockton looking to the interior. Malone forced to the outside by Longley, and Mike, you nailed it on the head. Longley and Malone, the matchup. Hornacek straight down the middle, off balance, rimming out. Harper the lead feed. Jordan in the open floor, and Russell was forced to foul him.
It was a gimme foul. What I mean by that is he did foul on purpose, so Jordan wouldn't be able to get around him to get the dunk. I think it was a very smart foul by Russell. The Jazz not shooting the ball very well. Malone, everything so far on the perimeter, which means he won't get anybody in foul trouble.
Utah opening up 1 of 6 shooting from the field. Pippen will back in. No good. And Hornacek claims the rebound. Up the floor, here come the Jazz with Malone leading the way for 2.
All right, Malone really needed that, but you notice he gets the hoop on a layup. His perimeter shot not going down. He runs the floor real well, and he's rewarded with the pass.
And Utah has regained the lead. Jordan, one-on-one with Hornacek. Fadeaway jumper for Michael Jordan.
One of the best post-up players in the league. Posting up, you take the ball in low. Jordan just elevates over everybody, shoots the jumper.
And the Bulls have a one-point advantage with 8:35 remaining here in the first quarter. Stockton matched up with Ron Harper, those long arms. The tip, Scottie Pippen comes up with a steal. 1-on-2 break for the slam.
See, Chicago's defense is so long. You have Pippen, Jordan, and Harper, all 6'6", 6'7", with those long arms. They will get a lot of passes. You might not get steals like that, but they'll deflect a lot of passes.
3-point lead for the Bulls. Stockton the pull-up jumper.
See, Harper backed off, gave Stockton the opening, he took advantage.
John Stockton now has 4 points to lead the Jazz. 8-7, Chicago with the advantage. And Greg Foster has been whistled for his first personal foul.
He threw an elbow, not an elbow really, but bumped his shoulder into Kukoc to try to make him get soft with the basketball.
The leaner by Kukoc following his own shot. He can't connect, and Foster knocked it out of bounds.
Ian, Utah Jazz, their timing is off. The 10-day layoff they are rusty. They're not holding on to rebounds. They're missing shots. They're not making simple plays. After this first timeout, when it comes, I think Utah will settle down.
Pippen one-on-one with Russell. An illegal defense has been called on Utah, the first time that's been called tonight. So that will just be a warning on Jerry Sloan's team. What happened there defensively?
Well, what happened is Stockton left Harper to go double-team Jordan, but Jordan did not have the basketball. So Stockton was guarding space, not his man. Illegal defense was called.
Next time it's called on Utah, Chicago will get a free shot at the free throw line. Kukoc has it rim out. Longley battling for the loose ball, but Malone able to hold on and toss it in for Hornacek. Malone with a head of steam, dumps it off for Foster. He had it blocked away. The fans here desperately wanted a foul call. Harper on a kick out. Scottie Pippen thought about it for 3. Now puts it on the floor, weaving inside. Wild shot doesn't go, and Malone has the rebound.
I like what the officials are doing, though. They're letting the game being played by the players. They're not making little calls.
Hornacek, the quick release doesn't drop. Loose ball as Longley touched it last, out of bounds, and the Jazz will hold on to possession.
A lot of times in the NBA, the officials will call anything close. Right now, they're letting the players play. Foster has the dump. No. Pippen blocks it out of there, starts the fast break the other way. Nice defensive play by Scottie Pippen.
So the Utah Jazz in the half-court set, they trail by 1. Stockton, he is a master. Handling the ball, and Harper nearly took it away. A foul.
A foul on Harper. His first.
8-7, Bulls lead it. A timeout. You're watching the NBA on Channel 4.
Welcome back. NBA Finals live, and John Amici sat alongside me, and the Bulls have probably made the start that they wanted there, haven't they?
Certainly. They've come out with a lot of intensity, but I'm a little surprised at Utah because they're playing without the composure that really is their trademark. But I would expect after this timeout they're going to come back and be ready to play.
Absolutely. Of course, it is very early as well, we know, and we've got a good couple of hours of great fun still to come. Let's go back to the action and back to Ian.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Neither team shooting the ball all that well, but the defense has been rather strong on both ends. Scottie Pippen, he's been doing this his entire career. 11 years in the NBA. Such a tough defender, Mike.
He's so long, Ian, and he gets his hands on the ball a lot. And he's so quick with it, as you saw in that replay before. He took it all the way down and got the dunk. Points off turnovers. And then you see Kukoc early with the shot that was way short. And then Kukoc again, a short shot. He's in there for offense, so if he continues to miss shots, look for Rodman to be in the game in a hurry.
Kukoc currently 0 for 4. What a job he did, though, in Game 7 against the Indiana Pacers. I don't know if the Bulls are even playing in this series unless Tony Kukoc came alive as he did in that Pacers series.
Tony hit some big shots from the perimeter. Actually played pretty good defense, too, in that game, 7th game against Indiana.
You see the shooting, 4 of 11 for Chicago, 3 of 10 for Utah. Jazz, though, with a chance to regain the lead. Great backdoor cut, and the bucket for Russell.
I knew after the timeout, Sloan would go to a play that was a movement play. Everyone touched the ball before Russell got that layup. They were very sharp there.
These two teams are so fundamentally sound. We are looking at the two best teams in the NBA. Stockton strips the ball away from Pippen. And now the Jazz on the run. Stockton leaning in. Somehow gets a pass off for Foster, who wisely backs it out.
Yeah, you normally don't go up. Stockton doesn't go up in the air normally to make passes. He did there, got away with it.
There's the pick and roll. Stockton keeps it out of the perimeter. Shot clock is now at 7. Malone looks. He has Stockton. And the Jazz turn it over. Stockton could not get the pass to Jeff Hornacek.
Yeah, miscommunication. Stockton thought Hornacek would go towards the basket. He went out away from the hoop. The basketball went right out of bounds.
Some uncharacteristic play from Jerry Sloan's team early on. Second turnover for the Utah Jazz. 9-8. Utah with the lead.
That's where Chicago wants to go right there to Jordan in low against Hornacek. Michael will force a double team. The ball gets knocked out there. But if he forces the double team, he'll be unselfish and get the ball out. If the double team doesn't come, he'll just elevate over Hornacek and make the jump shot.
Only 7 seconds remaining on the 24-second shot clock as the Bulls hold on to the basketball. Pippen will toss it in. Longley with 4 to shoot. And Utah has it. Howard Eisley now in the game for the first time tonight for the Jazz, replacing John Stockton. And another turnover as Malone could not handle that pass. Pippen driving straight down the middle for the finger roll.
See, Pippen thought the play before was a goaltend on Foster. Didn't get it, so he made sure he got that hoop, went directly to the rim, and made the layup.
Pippen now has 4 points, and the Bulls lead it 10-9. 5:15 remaining in the first quarter. Malone yet to get on track. Foster taps it to the outside, and the Jazz will get a new shot clock.
I'm really surprised Karl Malone hasn't tried to use his quickness against Luke Longley and take the ball to the basket, get some fouls, or maybe get some free throws.
Malone is 1 of 4 shooting thus far. 10 seconds left on the 24. Malone will drive in. Finger roll is good. They'll wave it off. An offensive foul called, so the basket does not count.
No, they wave it off. The thing there, they say that the defense was above the dotted line. There's Malone. He'll come down the middle, but Pippen is out away from that dotted line underneath the hoop. Malone runs into him. Basket no good. Foul on Karl Malone.
And that is the first personal foul on the mailman. Bulls with a 1-point lead. Jordan. He's fouled, and it's good. A chance for 3. Michael Jordan is going to the free throw line, and Jeff Hornacek disagrees.
And Jeff Hornacek saying he didn't foul him. Here's Pippen bringing the ball up, and he makes the cut and then goes right down and gets the layup. The defense helpless trying to go after the basketball.
That is a thing of beauty. Scottie Pippen gliding through the air. This also a thing of beauty. Michael Jordan, who has improved his outside game as the years have gone by in his pro career.
He's so talented and gifted that he just elevates on. He uses those legs to get over the defense and figure things out.
5 points for Jordan. He leads all scorers, and the Bulls have a 4-point advantage. That's their biggest lead. The lob. Malone able to handle it in a major crowd, and a foul is called. Longley and Pippen were there. We'll see who gets it. Luke Longley will pick up the personal foul. And he has a very tough assignment in trying to deal with the mailman, Karl Malone.
Yeah, so far so good for Luke Longley, doing a decent job. But see, that play was so well placed that all 4 guys were out on the perimeter, and Malone was the only guy inside. So there was good spacing. You could not help out defensively. So Karl Malone gets to the free throw line. And believe it or not, Ian, even for a former MVP last year, I think these free throws are very important for Karl Malone, because if he misses them, it could grow that he might miss more. But if he starts to make them early, he can go on and hit 15 or 16 free throws in the game.
Well, Mike, you think back to what happened in Game 2 in Chicago last year, NBA Finals. Karl Malone had a chance to win that game, could not hit free throws, and it cost his team later on.
It certainly did. It certainly did. Free throws become major.
13-11. The Bulls lead it. Pippen, the jumper, and an offensive foul has been called. Luke Longley picks up his second personal just like that, setting the screen.
He let Russell have it with his shoulder. Good call by the official.
So Phil Jackson will have to make a substitution. It'll be little used Dickie Simpkins checking in to replace Luke Longley.
Tells me, Ian, that something happened with Rodman. See that, and you go with Longley. Move that left shoulder and arm, knock Russell over. Good call. Baskets wouldn't have counted even if it went in.
Not a smart play because Pippen would have gotten the shot off anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It would have went right up there.
Foster. He's guarded by Pippen. Foster will put it up. Long rebound, top to the outside, and the Jazz have it.
And Simpkins didn't put a body on Malone to keep him off. So Malone able to get his arm up to keep the Jazz alive here.
Double team on Isley. Russell guarded by Kukoc. Malone with 10 to shoot. And Isley will reset the offense. Isley able to spin around Harper. The floater is good.
See, Pippen tried to get the offensive foul. He fell down. The officials didn't buy it. It was a flop. That means you acted. Good no call by the official.
Howard Isley gets his first points of the finals. And we're tied at 13. Kukoc just inside the three-point line. Count it.
See, the defense of the Jazz came down as we look at Rodman. And I wonder if he was late for something because he should be playing now, especially with Longley getting 2 fouls.
Dennis Rodman still has not appeared in this game with just over 3 minutes left in the first quarter. The Bulls touched it last, so Utah will retain possession with 15 seconds left on the shot clock. Phil Jackson, calm, collected. Usually, he and Dennis Rodman are on the same page, but Rodman every now and again can go off the deep end. Russell, the pull-up jumper, is off the mark. Foster knocked it out of bounds, and the Bulls will have it. A timeout has been called. 2:51 to play in the first. Bulls lead by 2. NBA on Channel 4. Bulls leading the Utah Jazz with 2:51 remaining in the first quarter. It's party time here in Salt Lake City. They have waited a year for this moment after losing in the NBA Finals in 6 games a year ago to the Bulls. The Jazz players and the fans certainly ready for this. Tony Kukoc seeing a lot of action in the first quarter, and still the absence of Dennis Rodman. Michael Jordan has played every minute as well. And a lot of question marks about his future, Mike. Do you believe this will be his last year?
I think this will be Michael Jordan's last year in the NBA. In his thinking, he feels he'll win another championship, and that will be it. The Bulls will break up. They'll go their own way, the star players at least. And the Dynasty 6 championships in the 90s, if they would survive this series here with the Jazz, that would be quite enough.
As for the Utah Jazz, this is a team also getting up there in age a bit. Malone and Stockton certainly at the tail end of their careers. I think there's even a chance that John Stockton could retire if they win this series. And you know, these great players, Hall of Famers that we're looking at least 4 of them are. Jeff Hornacek, a consummate professional, and Tony Kukoc, who has done a nice job making the transition from the European game here in the NBA.
Yeah, and all good teams have 2 good scorers that you can rely on night in and night out. The great teams, Ian, have that other scorer, Hornacek and Kukoc, indications for these 2 teams.
Well, you can always check out the NBA on your computer at NBA.com. That's the NBA online. 2-point lead for the Bulls. They have the ball with 12 seconds left to shoot. 2:35 remaining in the first period. Michael Jordan will back in on Hornacek. Gives it up. Harper with the extra pass for Kukoc. Dumps it inside, and a 3-second violation. That means a player stood in that painted lane area for too long. 3 full seconds, and the officials caught the Bulls.
And see, if Kukoc put it up, there would have been no call. But since he made another pass, Bennett Salvatore, the official down there, said that's enough. Makes the violation.
Utah looking for the top. Chris Morris is in the game for the first time tonight for the Jazz. Morris comes up short on that jump shot, and the Bulls control it. Kukoc gives up his dribble as we approach the 2-minute mark of the first quarter. Dickie Simpkins with his first touch. The fans here wanted a traveling violation on Harper. The jumper doesn't go. Chris Morris with the rebound. Isley will push it up the floor. Hornacek with the fake, driving in. Layup, no good. And Harper comes up with a loose ball. A low-scoring first quarter. Harper dumps it inside for Pippen. It doesn't drop for him, but he's going to the free throw line. A foul has been called underneath the basket.
Yeah, in the act of shooting, so Pippen will come out and shoot 2 free throws. but he's mad at himself that he didn't hit that layup. He felt he didn't get hit that hard. Should have finished that off. So Pippen, as we talked about Karl Malone earlier, shoots his free throws in the 60s, and you don't think of a superstar doing that, so these are big free throws for him. He knocks the first one down.
64% from the free throw line during the playoffs. You see the numbers. He has been so prolific during his career, voted one of the top 50 players of all time. He has certainly benefited, though, from playing alongside Michael Jordan.
No question. Jordan, the ultimate superstar, makes the players around him better than what they really are.
All the speculation, though, is that Scottie Pippen, after this series, will move on to another team, sign a big free agent deal. The blood a little too sour with the Chicago Bulls. Not happy with management and the way that he's been treated. Howard Eisley on the drive, and illegal defense has been called on the Chicago Bulls. We talked to you about that earlier. Utah has been called for it once, and now Chicago has been called for it once as well. It's just a warning. The next time it's called, and the opposing team will shoot a free throw.
The strong side, of course, where the ball is, that's the strong side. Weak side is opposite the ball. The defensive players for the Bulls on the weak side were too close to where the ball was.
Karl Malone yet to get going, using his body on Dickie Simpkins, and he had it blocked. Here come the Bulls. Scott Burrell now in the game for Chicago. Burrell is joined by Harper, Pippen, Simpkins, and Jordan. Pippen will back in. Morris knocked the ball away. Pippen retrieved it. 1 minute left in the first. Jordan off the dribble, the jumper no good, and it bounces over the backboard, and that's out of bounds.
It's an automatic dead ball situation when the ball goes out. Here's Malone against Simpkins, tries to get a foul and loses concentration on the layup, missed it, was frustrated, thought he was fouled, but a good no call. There wasn't a foul there.
Bulls with a 4-point lead, 48 seconds to play in the first. Eisley, he has the speed on Harper. He won't take it as Harper smacks the ball out of bounds with 10 seconds left on the 24. The Utah Jazz will hold on to it.
And the Jazz have played an awful first quarter, shooting under 30%, 28% from the floor. They have 4 turnovers that left 7 points for the Bulls. They're just trying to survive here.
Chris Morris on the inside, the pass from Eisley, and Mike, you're right. The Jazz are just lucky to be in it because Chicago has not shot the ball well.
The Jazz defense. This is a 2-for-1 situation here, Ian. Pippen puts it up, so the Bulls will play defense, and then they want to get it back.
And a loose ball foul has been called on Chicago as Dickie Simpkins went for the rebound with 27.3 left in the first. No Dennis Rodman in the first quarter. A storyline developing here at the Delta Center. Phil Jackson making the decision. We do not know what's behind it. Certainly there could be a problem that Rodman may have missed practice or may have shown up late. We've seen it before. There's a 2-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. Utah holding on to the ball. Malone on a pump fake, driving in. The layup is good.
Boy, he took that strong. See, he'll learn that that's what he should do when his outside shot's not going down.
Jordan, three-pointer at the buzzer. No good. And that is the end of the first quarter. And it's fitting. We're all tied up. The Jazz and the Bulls, 17 apiece. Second quarter action will be coming up. This is game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. And we have all the coverage for you on Channel 4. Stay with us. Much more to come from Salt Lake City.
You're watching the NBA Finals live here on Channel 4, Salt Lake City. And we have Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls in game 1. Sitting alongside me is John Amici, and John, that is an interesting first quarter because, I mean, it's tight, 17 apiece, obviously, but the guy you'd imagine to be the major factor in the home game here for Utah is Karl Malone, and it's interesting the way that Chicago have taken to looking after him, isn't it?
Certainly, it seems like they've really broken down Karl Malone's game and made a conscious effort to stop him in every way. They know that he's going to use his quickness against players like Luke Longley, and that's when you find the players waiting for him, like Scottie Pippen did in the last segment.
We know what Karl Malone's going to do. Chicago know what Karl Malone's going to do. No one's been able to stop him doing it all year. So what's the kind of like the little psychological games you can play with him perhaps to actually beat him?
Well, one of the things that people don't realize is that game of basketball is incredibly physical. Karl Malone is known as a physical player, but today he's certainly being beaten around under there. And since the referees are letting it go, it's making life a little difficult. I think Karl's used to getting those early calls that get his game going.
That is intriguing. I mean, we've seen quite a bit of bashing under the hoop there, haven't we? And Karl Malone's been the recipient of quite a bit of it, and the refs haven't called it. Saw a lot of that in last season's finals when it felt like Utah might have been. I mean, you get that home court protection, don't you? But I mean, Karl Malone has been under there looking around thinking, where's my defence?
He's been under a lot of pressure the whole game.
Yeah, and he's going to be having even more pressure now, I'm sure. We've started the second quarter. Let's go back to Ian.
Well, Mark, the Jazz certainly have to be happy to be in this game after not playing up to par in the first quarter of action. Karl Malone, the jump shot to start play in the second quarter. We will reset the lineups for you. The Bulls have Randy Brown on the floor as his pass is intercepted. Morris swings a pass over to Isley, left alone for the jumper.
Well, Morris got away with a behind-the-back pass. Isley pushed it up to get the shot up and in. And a nice play by Howard Isley.
And Dennis Rodman is now on the floor. So after sitting out the entire first quarter, Phil Jackson has put Rodman in the lineup. He's joined by Brown, Bushler, Pippen, and Dickie Simpkins. Traveling has been called on the Bulls. Randy Brown.
Yeah, bad handoff by Bushler. Randy Brown sort of bobbled it, shuffled his feet without dribbling the basketball. So an easy call for the officials.
Phil Jackson looking on in disgust as the Bulls turn it over for the 6th time. Shandon Anderson, second-year player on the back end. And a foul called as Judd Bushler was guarding Anderson.
And the foul happened before the shot. So it's just a side out first team foul for Chicago. If the foul was called as he was shooting the basketball, then the Russell in this case would get 2 free throws.
Karl Malone taking his sneakers off as he gets a rest. Utah with Isley, Anderson, Carr, Morris, and Russell. Anderson driving around Bushler, and another foul has been called.
So right now, Jerry Sloan sees a weakness, he thinks, in the Chicago defense. It's Judd Bushler right there. That's 2 quick fouls. Look for Shandon Anderson to go back down low and go against Judd Bushler again.
But once again, it's not a shooting foul. So the Utah Jazz have a new shot clock. Anderson draws the double team. Morris puts it on the floor. The dish for Carr. The layup doesn't go. Carr following his own shot, and he had it blocked away. Anderson, the jumper, that's no good. And Simpkins controls the rebound. The Utah Jazz shooting 32% from the field, but they lead by 2. Pippen guarded by Anderson. On the outside, Pippen tried to get a pass to the inside, broken up by Morris. Here come the Jazz, Isley for Anderson, driving in for the layup.
That's a great steal by Utah, and when they get the steal, they go the other way. They have more white shirts than red, so they get the layup.
And the Jazz now lead it by 4.
And Ryan, after that turnover, here comes that crowd again here at the Delta Center.
Judd Bushler, his layup doesn't go. Anderson the other way. Brian Russell ahead of the pack.
Phil Jackson doesn't like to call timeouts, but he might be forced to call one here. The Chicago bench not playing well.
Oh, this crowd is going berserk. And the Bulls forced to take that timeout. 23-17. 9:35 to play. First half.
So game 1, and suddenly we've got a 6-point lead there for the Utah Jazz coming into that second quarter. And John Amici, that's one of those crucial little moments there. Is your classic kind of 4-point play. Judd Bushler found himself with plenty of room coming into the hoop. Should have showboated all the way, shouldn't he?
Well, he certainly should have taken it strong to the hole. In a game of this magnitude, you can't afford the little slips.
And of course, all that ended up was the ball goes to the other end, and suddenly, you know, where you've got yourself 2 points, it goes the wrong way round, doesn't it?
A big emotional lift. Utah shooting 32%, and any easy basket like this will really help turn the whole team's play around, I think.
Phil Jackson decided to go to that timeout there. He's clearly decided that, you know, this game he wants it close all the way down the line.
Certainly, you can't let it go in games of this size, because the moment you get a small advantage, teams like Utah, even though they're not playing tremendous basketball right now, they can hold that type of lead.
Now, Dennis Rodman came in the second quarter there, and it's an interesting factor about Rodman. Chances are he's going to get himself fouled out unless he's careful. Were we looking at Phil Jackson trying to hold on for as long as possible before sending him into the game?
I think Phil Jackson uses Dennis Rodman as a strategic weapon. When he believes that he can go into a game and really be an impact, that's when he puts him in, and only when he's ready.
Well, obviously, Rodman's a factor again now, and let's see how it's going to go into this second quarter. Let's go back to the guys on the floor.
Well, Mark and John, it's 23-17, Utah with the lead. Dennis Rodman missing a jump shot off the timeout call. On the interior, Anderson can't get the roll, and Rodman hugs the ball as he gathers in the rebound.
Yeah, took a shot before. It's very unusual for him, but he comes back and gets the rebound.
Michael Jordan has returned for the Bulls, and Tony Kukoc with a flip.
He got the ball so deep, that's why he made the layup.
Morris on a spin move, layup with the left hand.
Tell you what, the Utah bench is the reason why Utah has this 6-point lead. They have played great since they've come in the game. Guys like Morris, Anderson, and Howard Isley.
25-19, Utah. Kukoc off balance jump shot comes up short. Rodman poked it out of bounds. So the Jazz will get the ball back. 8.5 remaining in the second quarter.
Here's the play by Morris. Watch him come down. Jordan thinks he might get an offensive foul, but he doesn't get it because there wasn't much contact. So Morris just lays it up and in.
Something we haven't talked about yet, the bench and how important that will be in this series. Utah very deep as Jerry Sloan has so many players at his disposal.
And there's another one of those bench players, Shannon Anderson. Bushler went for the fake. After he goes by, he ducks under, makes the layup. I'll tell you what, Ian, Shannon Anderson really has turned this game around with his play inside against Bushler.
27-19, Utah. Jumper from Jordan is good.
That sort of calms things down, but look at Utah. They've got second life now. They pull up, and Stockton goes right there and gets an easy layup the other way.
John Stockton gives the Jazz a 29-21 lead. We are in the second quarter here at the Delta Center. Thanks for joining us tonight on Channel 4. Live coverage of the 1998 NBA Finals. Jordan will back in on the smaller Isley and takes full advantage of that matchup with a fadeaway jumper.
Well, he's so smart. He saw that Isley has a couple inches below Jordan, so they go down low, get him the basketball. As I said before, he just jumps over you to make the jump shot. Look for Utah to make a switch and put someone a little bit taller on Michael Jordan.
Stockton off the pick and roll. Isley. He's guarded by Jordan. Isley with a spin move. Jumper, high arcing delivery. Howard Isley has given this Utah team a lift off the bench.
He could start for just about any other team in the NBA, but he comes off the Utah bench because of Stockton.
31-23, and Jordan cannot answer. The Jazz looking to break. Stockton fending off Jordan. And a whistle stops play.
It's going to be a foul on Jordan, I believe. I don't know why Jerry Sloan's out of his mind over there on the sideline. Here's Anderson before on the shot he made.
Shandon Anderson, one of those bench players, and a timeout has been taken. 6:43 left, first half. The Jazz 31, the Bulls 23.
Game one, the Jazz and the Bulls, and 31-23 to the home side now. A little gap opening up there, John Amici, and we're seeing the benches coming into a bit more in this quarter, and that's where the gap's opened up. Suddenly we're seeing the difference between the quality, aren't we?
Certainly. The big two of Utah haven't performed as well as they would like. I'm sure they're going to come together, but the bench for Utah has really come in and done a great job. Shannon Anderson has been using up Judd Bushler in the post,
yeah,
and it's been a big factor.
Anderson, Isley, Morris are the kind of names that that people are getting more increasingly used to, because, you know, Utah are that classic side where you don't look at a five-man unit at all, do you? You really do look at 8, 9, 10 men.
Yeah, some teams have their starting five and then a considerable drop-off with their 6, 7, 8 man. Utah seems to be able to bring in these guys, the Shannon Andersons, for example, who can come in and react and play like starters. They're so used to coming off the bench and getting right into the game. There's no warm-up period for them. They just really hit it off early.
Phil Jackson, they talk about being the great guru, and he's often had a kind of a pleasant life in the sense that he's never had to rely too much on the bench. A lot of the guys got games in the big blowout game in Chicago. Are they all mentally prepared to come into games like this, do you think, those benchmen?
No, I think the benches of Utah and Chicago have a different psychological mindset. Utah knows that their bench, when they come in, they have to perform. Chicago's bench, they're used to coming in when they're up by 30.
Yeah, quite, that's right, yeah. They're not going to get that easy ride here in Salt Lake City. Let's go back to the game.
And gentlemen, that Utah bench is such a key from last year to this year. As Howard Isley misses that jump shot, a year of experience for young players like Isley, Anderson, and Russell. And I think Jerry Sloan has a lot more confidence in them this year.
Oh, there's no question about it.
Michael Jordan can't get it to go, but he's fouled.
And see, Michael Jordan used his body so well, and I'll tell you what, after a tough series against Indiana, more bumps like that, hits to the floor, that will take its toll on the greatest player ever in Michael Jordan. But he knows his team is struggling, so he doesn't fade away or anything like that. He goes right to the hoop, gets to the line.
Well, this is what the finals look like here in 1998. Game 2 coming up from Utah, and then games 3, 4, and 5 will be in Chicago. If necessary, these two teams will come back to Salt Lake City here at the Delta Center for games 6 and 7. Brian Russell comes into the game to replace Howard Isley. Michael Jordan, averaging just under 32 points per game during the postseason. He is still the best player in the league. If you need evidence, he won the MVP award for the 5th time this year. Stockton on the drive, the layup doesn't go. Rodman clears the rebound for Kerr. Kerr, a bounce pass for Kukoc, and he's guarded by Morris. 31-25, Utah with the lead. We are past the midway point of the second quarter. Touch pass, Kerr, baseline jumper.
And you had excellent movement offensively. Just about everyone touches the basketball. Kerr, a designated shooter. When he's open, he shoots the basketball.
And the Jazz lead is now down to 4. Stockton off the pick and roll. Antoine Carr. Long-range shot for him. Morris kept it alive for the wrong team. And now the Bulls with a break opportunity. Jazz trying to get back defensively. Stockton knocks it away. Here come the Jazz. Russell, the bounce pass. Shannon Anderson, the layup.
They off another turnover. Pippen really lousy with the basketball. Stockton makes the steal. As soon as Utah gets it, they go the other way for the layup.
And they have a 33-27 lead. Chicago in the half-court set. Bulls have turned it over 8 times. 5 minutes to play in the second quarter. Kerr got his man in the air, Russell. Using the window, it doesn't go. Scottie Pippen, though, is there for the follow.
See, everyone thought on Utah that the ball would go in, so they didn't even think about a rebound. Pippen didn't give it any doubt, goes and gets the layup.
33-29, Jazz. Stockton running the offense for Utah. Carr to the outside, Russell. Shot clock is now at 8. Morris had it knocked away by Kukoc. A 4-point game.
I think Jerry Sloan will get Karl Malone back in the game. He's had plenty of rest.
Jordan will back in on Russell. Jordan got some help from Anderson. And a foul called by official Steve Javy. Shannon Anderson came over to help. He may have had the wind knocked out of him a little bit as Jordan bumped bodies.
I'll tell you what, Ian, that's good defense, though. Watch him just stop the penetration here by Jordan. Just stopped it. That's not a foul, really. Steve Javy, the official, called it, got bought into it. But when you stop penetration like that and Jordan made the contact, that should not have been a foul on the defense.
Karl Malone comes back into the game for the Utah Jazz. And Kerr is fouled by Stockton. That stops the clock with 4:09 to play in the second quarter.
It's only the 3rd team foul, so just a side out for Utah. When they get to 5 team fouls, then any foul like that, they'll be shots.
Rodman on the outside. He's guarded by Malone. Malone goes for the steal. Rodman holds on to the ball. Kerr dumps it to the interior. Pippen missed the dunk. Jordan driving in. Layup is no good. Jazz come the other way with Russell. Russell guarded by Kukoc. A pump fake, and he draws the foul.
And I believe that's in the act of shooting, so Brian Russell will come out and get 2 free throws. Here's Coe with the beautiful pass inside. Pippen misses a dunk. You don't see that often. Watch the no call here. There's contact. No call there by the officials. Jordan can't believe it. He goes the other way. Very inconsistently called game so far. A touch foul called once, and then a bump like that, no call. Officials got to get it together.
Do you feel, though, because the Bulls are the defending champions and the team of the 90s, that they do get more calls than most teams?
I don't think there's any doubt about it. With the superstar like Jordan and all the rest, with the scrapbook they have, the championships, they get the benefit of the doubt of just about any other call.
And that was a major controversy during the Indiana series. Larry Bird stating his opinion, the head coach of the Pacers, in the first couple of games. And then you saw the officials maybe change a bit and give Indiana some calls.
Oh, I thought the respect came from Larry Bird there. The officials started calling those fouls on Pippen, playing that aggressive defense on Mark Jackson.
Utah extends its lead, 35-29, with 3:32 to play in the first half. Pippen got 2 men in the air. The shot blocked away by Karl Malone. Hornacek out for Stockton. Thought about going to the inside, but instead will control the offense from the perimeter. And a bump. Scottie Pippen.
And that's free throws now, even though there was no shot attempt and a foul was called. The Chicago Bulls have 5 team fouls, so a foul like that means 2 free throws for John Stockton.
And for the rest of this quarter, because of those 5 team fouls, the Utah Jazz are in what we call the bonus. They will shoot free throws from here on out whenever a defensive foul or loose ball foul is called on the Bulls. John Stockton. His numbers during the course of the 1998 NBA playoffs: at home, 13.6 points per game, just over 8 assists per game as well.
And Luke Longley in with 2 fouls. Dennis Rodman, a quiet couple minutes for him, and he's back out with a long walk to the bench.
There is certainly a story behind the story right now between Dennis Rodman and Phil Jackson. Rodman did not play in the first quarter. Jackson finally letting Dennis Rodman check into the game in the second quarter, but as Mike just mentioned, Luke Longley is playing with 2 personal fouls. Jazz with a 7-point lead. Jordan splits defenders for the beautiful scoop.
Boy, he's so smooth, uses the spin dribble, took up so much space and lays it up and in.
The Jazz lead by 5. Stockton guarded by Kerr. Hornacek. He's being watched by Kukoc. Matchup inside. Malone gets the step on Longley. Good recovery by the big Aussie, but he's called for the foul. His third.
I don't know about that one either, Ian. I thought Luke Longley reached over and made a good block, and Phil Jackson on the Chicago bench cannot believe it. He's up out of there. But out of the timeout, Malone will get free throws. Watch Jordan spin. Watch all his space. Oh, right to the hoop and lays it in.
And a timeout has been called with 2:45 left in the first half. Jazz 36, Bulls 31. We're coming back.
Welcome back to the NBA Finals Live Game 1. An intriguing second quarter, only a 5-point gap now. And, John, we talked a little bit earlier on about the Dennis Rodman factor, him starting late. And there's been a bit of a story knocking about in Salt Lake City about a possible problem.
Certainly, we saw as he walked back to the bench after a very brief spell, he had some strapping on his hand. So I think what we're wondering now is whether they have a serious injury in Dennis Rodman's case.
Yeah, Ian, I mean, John makes the point. I mean, obviously you can see him up close up there. Does it look like he might be carrying a problem with that right hand?
Yeah, just a bit, Mark. I think there's no doubt that he is not 100%, but the Bulls certainly need him, and they need his presence on the inside rebounding. So a Dennis Rodman at 70-75% is still better than no Dennis Rodman at all.
And talking about, like, giving it 100%, I mean, we haven't exactly seen Karl Malone with that energy level really up. I mean, we're seeing now, I mean, this isn't your Malone going straight for the hoop moment, is it?
No, it certainly is not, Mark. And Mike and I were talking about this with Karl Malone, how important it is for him to exercise the demons from last year's NBA Finals. He won the MVP last year, but I think a lot of people remember his performance in the Finals and the fact that he did not step forward and live up to that MVP status.
And John, we were talking about this as well, and the fact that perhaps this is exactly what Chicago are trying to do. They're trying to knock Karl Malone straight out of his stride, game one, immediately.
Yeah, I think it's a good possibility that Chicago's said, in this first game, we're going to try and take it completely out of Karl's hands.
And of course, psychologically, that could be a big thing for Chicago. Okay, Ian and Mike, back to you, chaps.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. Malone averaging 27 points per game in the playoffs, only 7 so far, as Michael Jordan quiets this crowd with the jump shot. Jordan, he's been hot. 15 points. He is the only player in double figures.
He's going well. He's hitting the drives, Ian. He's hitting the jump shots now, so he's doing it all well.
Malone getting the position and beating Rodman to the basket.
See, again, the spacing was there. There's no one that can come down and help Rodman. Malone will get a lot of points that way, because Rodman cannot control him inside.
9 points for the mailman. 6-point lead for the Jazz, and Steve Kerr knocks it down from the perimeter.
And Jordan didn't score that point. Obviously, Kerr did. But he set the screen on Stockton to stop him from playing the defense on Kerr. That's why he was so wide open.
And Kerr has been a bit of a help for the Chicago Bulls off the bench with 4 points. And that's the disparity right now, 39-35, Utah with the lead. Under 2 minutes to play, first half. The floater doesn't drop for Jeff Hornacek. And the Bulls come out on the move. Utah able to get back defensively. Kerr looks inside. Jordan is guarded by Anderson. Jordan on a turnaround. Michael Jordan is feeling it.
See, and Jerry Sloan not double teaming. He's going to call a timeout right now. Jerry Sloan as Jordan has really picked up the pace. So
Utah takes the timeout, and it will be a 20-second timeout for the Jazz. 39-37, Utah with the lead. Michael Jordan is now 7 of 12 from the field, 17 points.
And watch, he gets the ball. He's looking, just turns around at the defense, makes the shot. And Anderson puts his arm up, but it's just not enough. Now he looks around. He wants to know if a double team will come. If it doesn't come, it's one-on-one. See the fake that just stops the defense, and he just elevates again and shoots over the top.
And that's one thing about Jerry Sloan's coaching style. Oftentimes he will tell his defensive players to stay at home, not double up. And the Bulls did not double up on Karl Malone, and look what happened.
And a great screen out by Karl Malone to keep Rodman on his left hip there, and he scores the layup.
Two of the greats, Michael Jordan and Karl Malone. These two men have won the last 2 MVP awards. Jordan winning it this year, Malone winning it last year. Malone now in his 13th year in the NBA, and Jordan completing his 13th year. The jumper from John Stockton. That's an underrated part of his game. He can hit the open shot.
Yeah, Steve Kerr laid around the screen, and Stockton wide open hits it.
1 minute to play in the first half. Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals, live from the Delta Center. Jordan will back in on Anderson. Splits defenders. The layup is good and a foul. Michael Jordan has taken over here in the first half. 19 points, and he has kept the Bulls in this game.
He's waiting for the double team, Ian. He sees it coming, and watch him split it. It comes down a little late, and he splits it right there. Goes in between the 2 defenders, makes the layup, now gets the free throw because of the foul.
Jordan is 3 of 3 from the free throw line. You see the numbers. It's a shame that he's even considering retirement, because he is still the best player in the world.
He just understands the game so well, too. He knows that his team was struggling to score points, so what does he do? He just starts to light it up from everywhere.
And Mike, you know him for many, many years. He loves a challenge, and he loves the fact that people are talking about the idea that Utah can win this series.
Well, that just makes him even better. The competitive juices that he has, he just rises to the occasion.
It's a 1-point game. Utah with the lead. Stockton off balance jump shot off the glass and in.
See, what Stockton was trying to do there was draw a foul by throwing that up. He thought there was contact, so he gets lucky by hitting the banker.
We are winding down the end of the second quarter. The Jazz 43, the Bulls 40. Michael Jordan on a fadeaway, short, and it's rebounded by Russell. The Jazz can hold for 1. Let's see if Stockton backs it out. He does. Morris will get it in the hands of their floor general, John Stockton, with only 10 seconds to play in the first half. Stockton guarded by Pippen. Stockton the jump shot. Got it!
Both players for the Bulls went to Karl Malone. That left Stockton open.
Final shot for the Bulls. Kukoc, a 3-pointer at the buzzer. No good. And that's the end of the first half here at the Delta Center. The Utah Jazz, a 10-day layoff, some rust early on in the first quarter, but a strong second quarter of play, and they lead the Chicago Bulls 45-40 in Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. Much more to come from Salt Lake City. Right now, let's head back to the studio and Mark Webster.
Thanks very much indeed there, chaps. It's a 5-point game in Game 1. Coming up, we've got our half-time analysis from John Amici and, of course, from Ian and Mike as well. And also, NBA love goes out to the mailman, Mr. Karl Malone. Make sure you join us straight after the break. See you soon.
Karl Malone, Utah Jazz, the main man. His world, 12 by 15 feet. He owns it. Karl Malone's world is no joke. In the lane, in the real man's world, either you come strong or you don't come at all. 14 years he's been running Utah, ruling the NBA. They call him the mailman because he always delivers.
The mailman hammered up.
Mad body slamming, elbows flying, teeth getting knocked out. Most of the time, he's the one bringing the pain. Monster rebound. All power. Last year, he won the title MVP, league's most valuable player. Had other players scared, had grown men wearing diapers. The problem with handling things on the low key like Karl, mailman gets no love. But it's cool, because it ain't like he handing any love out. In this man's world, there's only one way to live.
I play the game one way, and that's all out.
No room for anything soft. Can't stop his wrath, can't hold him down. Too much man for him. Get in the lane with Malone, remember one thing, yo. Only the strong, real strong, survive.
Welcome back. The NBA Finals Live. It's half-time. Game 1, 40-45. It's a 5-point lead for the home team, the Utah Jazz, against the champions, the Chicago Bulls. And that was Scoop Jackson of 24/7, bringing you NBA love for the mailman Karl Malone. Didn't have a massive first half, but of course he's MVP last season for the season. And we're looking to find out an MVP from you. We want an MVP for the finals, and we want this via our website, which of course is on www.channel4.com. The very first time I've ever said that correctly. I'm delighted to say. And as you can see there, it's very easy for you to get in touch. You've been doing it all season. I've been talking to you. You've been talking to us. It's a marvellous way to stay in touch with the NBA and keep tuning in there. I'm going to be talking to you at one point as well next week. But we want those votes. MVP for the finals we're looking out for. So make sure you're watching and get those votes in. Alongside me here is John Amici. And John, we watched the first half there. I mean, that's close. That's close.
Certainly.
Messy but close.
It was a messy first half. It's not the kind of start that Utah would have liked. I think probably Chicago not too unhappy because they've had very poor starts. But to only be up by 5 points at this stage, it's got to be worrisome to Utah.
We've heard Scoop eulogising there about Karl Malone, and he is a man who plays at that kind of dramatic level, not necessarily in this first half. As we can see here from this particular incident, I mean, there's your Karl Malone. That's what he's meant to do, isn't it?
That was one of the few classic Karl Malone moves in there where he was strong, he pinned the man. He's so strong down there that you can't hope to stop him when he gets that low.
We talked about at the start there as well that Malone didn't get a very good kickoff. Do you think that the Bulls' game plan is going the way they want it? I mean, they're not necessarily doing everything completely right, but the score's close.
The score's close. Certainly Chicago's kept themselves in the game. And anytime you force a team as good as Utah to shoot in the 30%, you've done a good job. But again, this is a championship final now. It's all out.
And you've been in these situations before where little moments like this become crucial. Your two marquee players, your two top men, Scottie Pippen blows it, then Jordan goes up the other end.
Yeah, it's a big deflation for a team when you should have a sure 2 points and then you go down the other way and you end up with an easy layup by the opponent. It's those type of breaks that allows a team to shoot 30-odd% and yet still be leading in the game.
A couple of them in that first half against the Bulls. They then kind of like got their act together again, started squeezing the point difference once more. Who's impressed you most in that first half? As we said, you know, it's scrappy stuff. It's very difficult to call a kind of rhythm in this one, but who looks like they're on top?
Well, I think Michael Jordan, as usual, is looking spectacular, but I think a lot of kudos has to go to the Utah bench because they've kept them in the game. Certainly John Stockton late has hit some jump shots and started really controlling the game, but until Karl Malone comes online, it's the bench that's going to keep them in it. And
we often have talked during the course of the season, games we've been at Raw, you know, you see a team that's perhaps 10 points behind or just under or just around it, it's virtually 0-0.
Yeah, these type of single-digit leads in a championship final, it's nothing. They can be erased very quickly, especially with a player the caliber of Jordan on the other side.
And the Utah coach, obviously Jerry Sloan comes in, you know, he knows all about sending his men out with passion, and we mentioned there, obviously, again, Karl Malone, what a great leader for that kind of thing. Is it going to be disappointing in the back of their mind that they've not come out and given the Bulls a sound thrashing in the first half of the first game in their arena?
Certainly. Anytime you haven't reached your goal, anytime you've come out and you've not come out like gangbusters and really shown that it's your series, you're going to be disappointed at halftime, but they're up. And that's the important thing. And that's what counts at the end of the game. So now they know that they can maintain and improve on the level that they've already achieved. And with the bench clicking, Karl Malone is going to play better. He's one of those players, he's going to get his points. So with that in mind for the second half, I think Utah feels fairly confident.
And the Bulls, you know, they normally like these situations, but look back at that Indiana series. All 3 games at the Pacers' own arena were close games, you know, a couple of 3 points in it every time. Bulls in a position to win it, didn't do it where you'd normally expect to go and nick that one and get out of there and make the series. Last 3 games they've had, they've struggled on the away court.
Again, I think it's the fallibility of the Bulls showing again. In previous years, we've looked at the Bulls and said, well, if it's close, then they're going to win. But this year, there's been some Jordan misses and some Pippen misses that you would not expect, and some errors in judgment as a team that you just wouldn't recognize normally from the Chicago Bulls.
Dare I ask you at the moment if you've got a kind of opinion on how this game one's going?
I think, despite Utah's bad play, they really do not want to let this one go. So I think they're going to come out all guns firing in the second half.
Excellent. Once again, I'm the pivotal fool, so I don't have to comment one way or the other. I now got an opinion from John, and I can do the same now from Ian and Mike. How do you see this one going, fellas?
Well, at some point, Mark and John, the Chicago Bulls are going to have to get something from someone else other than Michael Jordan. He has dominated the first half offensively, but the Bulls have some other players. They just haven't stepped forward, Mike, and done their job.
Yeah, you have to think of Pippen first, and maybe a guy like Steve Kerr off the bench could, you know, make some things happen. Tony Kukoc hasn't done much, but I agree wholeheartedly with you, Ian. Someone else other than Michael Jordan will have to score some points here in the second half.
As for the Utah Jazz, I think they have to be rather happy that they lead by 5. There was so much speculation as to how much the layoff would affect them, and it did affect them in that first quarter. Second quarter was a different story, though.
It was. Jazz were affected. They missed shots. They turned it over. They never seemed to turn it over as much as they did in that first quarter, but they came back in the second quarter. But you know what I think, Ian? The 7-game stretch that Chicago had, that affected them in the first quarter also. I was a little surprised at that. I thought Chicago would be more sharp.
Ian and Mike, just to interrupt quickly there, because John's got a quick question for you.
Certainly. Ian, do you think now that the rust is off, that we're looking at 2 teams that are very evenly matched here?
I think so, John. I think the Utah Jazz had to get through that first 12 minutes and prove to everybody that they could at least maintain control, and they did that. The game was tied at the end of the first quarter, and in the second quarter they began to play their game. I agree with you guys, though. They haven't played their best basketball yet, which bodes very well for them in the second half of action. 45-40, the Utah Jazz leading the Bulls. Let's take a look at the halftime highlights here at the Delta Center. And for the Chicago Bulls, in that first quarter, they were getting some help from other players, including Ron Harper. But the Utah Jazz, as we know, a very resilient team. John Stockton, one of the toughest players in the NBA, and his partner in crime, Karl Malone.
Yeah, Karl Malone just runs the floor so well. Hornacek makes the pass. Look at him, runs right under it and just finishes it off.
For the Bulls, Scottie Pippen scoring 8 points in the first half. We know about that great defense, and Pippen a gifted offensive player as well. Utah, though, does have the bench, and it's something that they'll need to do in dealing with a Scottie Pippen. Jerry Sloan can get some players off the bench like Isley and Chris Morris, and he used that bench well, complementing the starters like Karl Malone.
Yeah, Karl Malone gets it, and I think that's what he needs to do more often, Ian, is take the ball to the rim.
In the second quarter, Great effort from Howard Isley. And we saw Isley and Stockton playing together in the backcourt at two times.
That doesn't happen very often, but since Isley played so well, Sloan wanted to get Stockton back in the game, so he played the both of them.
Brian Russell, the most athletic player on this Utah roster. And we mentioned Chris Morris. He has helped this Utah team at times. Shannon Anderson, another player that Sloan can count on. And at halftime, the Jazz lead the Bulls 45-40 as they look to take Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. Isley, that pull-up jumper, and you're right, he could start for a number of teams in the NBA, but he elects to back up John Stockton. Brian Russell in transition, Shannon Anderson, and those players that Jerry Sloan can use. They're almost interchangeable, Mike.
They certainly are. They can do a lot. There's a guy that could really help Chicago, Steve Kerr. He misses it there, but Pippen fouls it in. One of the few offensive rebounds.
And then there's that man, Michael Jordan. What more can you say?
No, he's a highlight. Look at him here, how he makes the spin. He takes up about 15 feet and then lays it up and in, just leaves the defense hopeless.
Michael Jordan doing it from every possible angle on the court. Jordan scoring 20 points in the first half of action. The next highest scorer on the Bulls roster, Scottie Pippen with 8.
And one of the best low post players. And he gets it inside. If there's a double team, he just gets right between it.
Jordan keeping the Bulls in it. 45-40. Jazz leading at halftime as we head back to the studio. And Mark Webster.
Thanks, chaps. 5-point lead indeed there in what everybody is saying is one of the biggest game ones in the finals you've seen. And you'll be able to see how it all pans out when we come back after the break for the second half. Welcome back. The players are back out on the court preparing for that second half. And before we go back to Utah and Chicago, Utah with that 5-point lead. John Amici, just a quick word about John Stockton. We said before the game started that he hasn't really been able to prepare himself for this finals the way we'd like to, carrying a few injuries, not on the top of his game. Does it look like he's warming up here?
He does. He's a marquee player, though, and I think he's shown that he's seen his team is not really clicking and not playing well together. And as the game went on, he started to hit shots and make himself more assertive in the game.
And of course, you know, the great thing about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, aren't we? You know, if he and Malone get going together, they're a frightening combination.
Absolutely. It's scary when those two get together and start playing well.
Now, you've got another great guy, similar kind of player in Scottie Pippen, who's that backup to Jordan. And we've seen him a few times in the run-ins of the playoffs here when Jordan's taken a rest and really take over a game, loving the limelight, loving the space to be able to do it. They mentioned there, the guys mentioned there, that it can't be Jordan all the way. Pippen's got a chance to come through here, isn't he?
Yeah, he really has to. Pippen has a tendency, when Jordan's on the floor, to really try too much, I think, to play the complementary role. Just to hit the open jump shot, not really assert himself on the floor. But when Jordan sits down, he can really get himself involved, take it to the basket, and do all the things he can do. He's a very versatile player, and he needs to show that whilst Jordan is on the floor as well. There's
an intriguing moment in Game 6 in Indiana when Pippen made a really nice bit of showboating move, put himself up a nice little two-point shot, and Mike immediately was brought off of the bench. What does that say to Scottie Pippen sometimes?
I think Scottie understands that he's on a team with the very best player in the world. So he's going to be second fiddle, even if he is a tremendous player. I think as he matures and as he moves on, probably to another team next year, he'll have his opportunity to shine on his own.
There you go, a bit of speculation there from John Amici, which no doubt we can pursue as this series runs along, because as everybody's been pointing out, this is the last party. We've seen a few of those T-shirts at the United Center. The last party for the Chicago Bulls as this particular team. Again, psychologically, you know, Phil Jackson, he's the one who said he's definitely not going to be there. The other guys have said nothing yet. You can't ask for any more as an incentive, can you?
Seriously, if you know it's over, you might as well give it your best shot.
Yeah. Now, let's have a quick flip back onto Utah Jazz. There's another guy we haven't really been able to talk about much because we haven't seen much of him, which is, of course, Jeff Hornacek.
Yeah, it's been interesting. He's kind of been a disappearing man out there. He's not taking any shots. His job on the team is similar to Steve Kerr. He's a little more versatile of a player, but he's out there to hit the open jump shot, and he hasn't really been involved. I really think that's something that John Stockton will try and address in the second half. They'll pick and roll with Carmelo as usual, but if they swing the ball and get better ball movement in the second half, you're going to see Hornacek start to get some open shots.
And you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, you fancy that it could be the Jazz who step up in the second half. Is it that kind of thing? I mean, is it basically just the right guys doing the right things again? You think that's what's going to see them home?
Certainly. I think the reason that the Jazz are going to be favorites for me in this game, it's because they are playing so badly for a championship series at this point. So many players are not playing well that you can't imagine that continuing.
And of course, you can't necessarily turn to the Bulls bench if you are Phil Jackson to fill those gaps, can you? I mean, Michael's got himself, you know, he's up with 19, he's near that 20 point. The man can go for 40. I mean, he's going to need to get another 20 points, isn't he?
Absolutely. Jerry Sloan has a luxury in a bench that can all come on, they can all score, they can all defend. He's got all types of versatility with the use of his bench. Phil Jackson really has to go with his stars.
There you go. Well, thanks very much indeed, John. The action has picked up again. It is the second half. Time to get back to Ian and Mike.
Well, guys, you made some terrific points, and we'll follow those storylines as the second half unfolds. 45-40. The Jazz leading the Bulls here at the Delta Center. We are joining you live tonight from Salt Lake City. This is Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. A rematch from 1997. The Bulls beat the Jazz in 6 games last year, and Utah looking for revenge. Jordan scored 20 points in the first half. Opens up the second half, coming up short from the outside.
And you notice, Ian, that Dennis Rodman is in the starting lineup here in the third quarter. Luke Longley on the bench. So Rodman and Kukoc in the game at the same time.
Rodman very quiet in the first half, only 5 rebounds. Malone's jump shot rims out. And we're still looking for our first points of the second half, and there they are. Scottie Pippen, the driving layup.
He's so much better when he does drive to the hoop instead of just fading away with that jump shot. He takes it to the hoop, good things will happen. If he doesn't score, he probably would get fouled.
Pippen now in double figures with 10 points. John Stockton cutting towards the rim.
That's a beautiful pass by Jeff Hornacek. 0 for 4 shooting in the first half, but Hornacek with a beautiful pass inside.
47-42. We are just underway in the third quarter. Jordan working on Hornacek. Harper got the step. Ball poked away. Pippen a three-pointer. Rodman the rebound, good position. New 24, Jordan for 3.
Dennis Rodman makes himself available, gets the offensive rebound, and then throws it right back out to Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, 23 points, single-handedly keeping the Bulls in contention. And a 2-point Jazz lead. Hornacek, watched by Kukoc. Tried to force a pass to the inside, and Malone got bottled up, and a foul. Dennis Rodman trying to defend the much bulkier Karl Malone.
You know, and Jeff Hornacek somewhere along the line here, Ian, as we see Rodman get the rebound right away out to Jordan, who's wide open, nails the three-pointer. But Jeff Hornacek has to start to supply some offense. Michael Jordan's guarding him and not letting any energy out on the defensive end.
Stockton, one-on-one with Harper. This is Malone with Rodman. The Bulls help out with Kukoc. Malone didn't get the roll. It's knocked out of bounds. And the Bulls will have it unless Steve Javie changes the call. Yeah, the officials will meet, and yes, Utah holds on to it.
See, Javie had the better angle, so he comes down and talks it over with the other official. There's Malone. He's going to the hoop. He's trying to get a foul call. Nothing. Misses it, and Rodman knocks it out.
Karl Malone is now 3 of 10 shooting. What's the problem with the mailman right now, Mike?
His timing is off, and I think he's starting to press. He missed his first few, and he's trying to push the ball in instead of shoot the basketball.
There's the pick and roll. Malone standing straight. John Stockton tried the reverse layup, and the foul called as Dennis Rodman came underneath the basket to help.
There's so much attention on the screen and roll as Karl Malone is so big, comes over to set the screen. There's Rodman and the defense flying for the rebound as it comes back out, and Dennis Rodman grabs that thumb, Ian. So John Amici was right back in the studio. There's something wrong with Dennis Rodman's right thumb.
Stockton at the free throw line. We talk so much about the pick and roll and how Utah will utilize it. They are the best in the NBA at executing it. There's Rodman trying to shake off that injury, but it's obvious he is not 100%. And you can tell by his play, not the same style that we see in Rodman, as he usually just goes after the basketball with reckless abandon. 49-45, Jazz. Kukoc gives up his dribble. Shot clock is down to 4. The Bulls have to hurry. Ball knocked away by Russell, and the Jazz with a break opportunity. Russell, the jumper, on target.
Russell just out-hustled Tony Kukoc, and Jackson doesn't like it. He calls a timeout.
It's a full timeout taken by Jackson. 8:51 to play in the third. Jazz 51, the Bulls 45.
So 45-51 there, and a frenetic little start. And John Amici, they've come out and the intentions are already there. I mean, it's still, it's still tight in there, but suddenly you saw a moment which must be worrying for the Bulls. I mean, they're seeing it up close. It's Dennis Rodman, who is normally energy personified.
Truly.
He's not looking like the man that he normally is.
Certainly not. Dennis Rodman is one of the most demonstrative players in the league. His every action is accompanied by a facial expression or a comment. And when you see him out there fouling somebody and going after rebounds and coming down and with no affect on his face, you really have to worry and wonder whether he's focused and into the game. Especially seeing that foul that looked a bit dubious anyway. I mean, and normally you make sure that he goes and have a quiet word with the umpire and just confirm exactly why it happened. Exactly. Normally he's the first one to be in with a comment if he believes he's been done wrong by. So it's unusual. Now, if they can't get the energy from him, where else can they go? Because I mean, it's under their own hoop where he starts. Basically, the attack starts from there because of the hard work that he does. Yeah, Ian and Mike already said that they've got what they can get from Jordan now. He's on his high-caliber game already. So they need to find something else from other players. And again, we've commented that the bench is not necessarily going to be the spark. So Scottie Pippen, I think, is the man. We've seen pictures there as well, especially that, when the free throws are there was an absolutely blank shot, look on his face, and then you actually see his hand as well, and he had his hand on his hip, and we can actually see the problem that he's got, and the problem that he's got is that his right thumb is just not working properly, is it? I mean, a little injury, I mean, it would appear to be a little injury, John, but does it actually get into your mind when you're hurting like that? Yeah, anytime it can be a small thing, it can be a snub toe or whatever, yeah. It doesn't matter. Small things really get into your mindset when you're a player of that kind of intensity. You really feel those. And that right hand, I mean, that slaps about everywhere, doesn't it? I mean, that hand's going in places you don't even want to think about, and of course he can't really do it in this game now, it would seem. Exactly. You have to realise as well, he's not a young player anymore. Sure. At 35, 36. All these little injuries, they add up. But once again, we've seen a frenetic start. They're going to either end. There's fouls going on. It hasn't sorted itself out yet, has it, this game? No, the game isn't smooth. They have no kind of flow going either team, I don't think. Michael Jordan is in his own little world, and he's hoping his team can rise up. OK. Well, Ian and Mike, John's saying here that we're not necessarily seeing a game with any particular flow to it, but I'll tell you what, there's still some good action going on out there.
Yeah, I think we'd agree. It's been a bit choppy, but the Utah Jazz beginning to get into a rhythm as Jordan misses that outside shot, and I think that question remains, who else will step forward for the Bulls if they're going to even stay in this game? The crowd playing a large role as well. Just a shade under 20,000 fans here at the Delta Center. It's sold out tonight in Salt Lake City. Jazz lead it 51-45. Stockton guarded by two members of the Bulls. Russell thought about it for three. Drives in. Brian Russell, an athletic play going to the basket.
He wanted the three, but Pippen closed him out, wouldn't let him have it. So the lane opened up, and Russell took it strong, and it's a good thing because there was some contact down there.
Russell now with 11, and Jordan finds Luke Longley camped out underneath the basket.
Yeah, the reason why he's wide open is Greg Foster left him to go double team, and then Jordan made the play inside.
Utah with a 6-point lead. 7:40 remaining. We are in the third quarter. Karl Malone still looking for his touch. And Malone is 3 of 11 now shooting.
He's rushing his shot there. I think he needs to get the ball in low and try to go to the rim, straighten himself out at the free throw line.
Longley is guarded by Foster. Stockton knocked the ball away for a moment. Jordan working on Hornacek, bumping bodies. Fadeaway jumper. Longley, offensive rebound, steps in for the easy deuce.
He's so much bigger than Greg Foster. The crowd wanted a pushing foul on Longley, but there was nothing there.
Luke Longley, back-to-back baskets, his first points of the evening. And it's a 4-point Utah lead. Stockton driving in on Harper, getting the step. Foster the short jumper.
Well, John Stockton, when he's able to turn the corner like that, he forces 2 or 3 defenders to him. Then he drops it off to who's ever open.
For Stockton, just his second assist. the all-time leader in assists in NBA history. Pippen on a cut to the rim. The reverse layup from Scottie Pippen. Luke Longley found him in stride.
Luke Longley, for a 7-footer, is a very good passer. He used the bounce pass variety.
55-51 Jazz.
Well, Ian, the flow is certainly picking up offensively. Teams are scoring a little bit easier now. Maybe they're getting that out of them. Utah with the layup and the Jazz and the fact that the Bulls played 7 strong games against Indiana.
That's a kick ball as John Stockton attempted to make the pass. One of the Bulls players kicked it. So the shot clock is reset in that scenario. There's the pass from Longley to Pippen. Hanging in the air, Scottie Pippen.
And the fact that Longley made that pass and scored 4 points, he's out. Foster goes out of the game, and Greg Ostertag, a 7-footer, in the game.
And Greg Ostertag, limited action thus far. Malone on a fadeaway jumper. And Ostertag, the tap, and he came firing in, and he got it over Rodman and Longley.
See, and Karl Malone again puts it up, but he's falling away from the rim. And then Ostertag cleans it all up.
First 2 of the night for Greg Ostertag, the 7-footer. Jordan, with his team down by 6, cuts into that, but they'll wave it off. Foul called before the shot. Michael Jordan drilling the baseline jumper, but it won't count. Here's another look as Malone fading away off balance, and Ostertag getting the little follow on the inside.
Very rarely will Dennis Rodman let you have inside position like that. See, Ostertag just reaches over Rodman, and Rodman maybe a bit hesitant to go up with that right hand with the thumb injury.
He doesn't look like the same player we've seen over the last 12 years. Jordan off the mark. Rodman the offensive rebound. Longley the jump shot, and that's his game. Luke Longley could hit from 10 to 15 feet away.
And both teams just matching each other as the Jazz continue with a 4-point lead. They score to make it 6, and then Chicago would come back and score.
Howard Isley now in the game for Utah, running the offense as Longley had it come off his fingertips out of bounds. Michael Jordan leads the way with 23 points on 9 of 19 shooting. But the Jazz have the lead, 57-53. Isley guarded out front by Harper. There's the pick and roll. Russell watched by Pippen. Similar body types. Russell, long jump shot, no. Malone couldn't grab it. Pippen does. And a reach-in foul.
Yeah, Karl Malone reached in and knocked Pippen down. So official Ronnie Garrison makes the call. It's just a side out. Only the second team foul. Again, when you get the 5-team fouls, that's when you start shooting your free throws if you're not in the act of shooting.
And for Malone, his second personal foul, you are allowed 6 personal fouls in a game. Once you get that 6th, sayonara. Scottie Pippen a 3. And a loose ball foul is called on the inside. Howard Isley was fighting for the rebound on the interior, and he picks it up.
So watch the reach in by Karl Malone. He'll go reaching right there and get all body and arm of Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen falls down just to get the attention of the official.
So now the Jazz with 3 team fouls and a new shot clock for the Chicago Bulls to work with. They trail by 4. Jordan off the double team. Keeping it on the outside. Pippen now looks to the interior. Jordan one-on-one with Hornacek. The help from Ostertag. Jordan finds the open man. Harper a 3. Ostertag couldn't grab it. Hornacek breaks out of the pack. The Jazz up the floor. Isley tried to get it to the interior. It's knocked out of bounds. Last touch Chicago.
See, Isley needed to shoot that. As we take a look at Jerry Sloan calling out a play for the team on the side out. I should say underneath the basket out. But Isley was wide open. Needs to put that up.
So the Jazz settle into the half-court set, and an ill-advised pass by Howard Isley. He tried to be a little too cute getting it under the rim.
He tried to go to Karl Malone. See, they're trying to get Malone the ball to make him score some points.
Alley-oop, and the ball actually grazed the rim, and Pippen is called for traveling.
See, the reason why it's traveling is he went up, had control, dropped it, held it, then dribbled again. You can't do that. You get one chance to dribble. If you keep it alive, you keep going. But once you stop and then go again, it's a travel violation.
So Chicago turns it over for the 10th time. Utah with 5 turnovers. Jazz lead by 4. Isley adds to it for the layup off the glass.
See, Ron Harper put his palms up to the bench and said, listen, I'm trying to force him down to the baseline. That's the line underneath the basket, but there was no one there to help me.
Scottie Pippen gives up the body and he draws the foul, but he does not get the bucket, and that's important because Pippen is not a sound free throw shooter. Here's Isley again.
Harper pushed him that way, but no one down there to help out, so Isley makes the layup. See, he's pointing. See, Harper's looking for someone down there to help him out, but no one's there, and uses the backboard to glass real well.
Here's Pippen getting the roll on the first attempt. Scottie Pippen now with 13 points. He is 3 of 3 from the line thus far. Missed some pivotal free throws in that Indiana series, which may have cost the Bulls later on, but Chicago able to defeat the Pacers in 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals and advance on to a meeting with the Utah Jazz. It's game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. Malone driving in, uncontested layup for the mailman.
And he finally used his quickness against Luke Longley. See, Karl Malone was settling for outside shots. He has quickness against Longley. Used it there, got the easy bucket.
11 points for Malone. 61-55 Jazz. Counting down to 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Jordan got 2 men in the air. That's vintage Jordan. Michael Jordan taking it to the basket.
Boy, he takes up so much space, too, with that extension.
61-57 now. Hornacek flips it up reverse style. Fight for the rebound, and Longley flips it ahead for Jordan. Jordan in the open floor. Jordan, the jumper, rims out. Knocked to the outside. Isley has it, and a foul. Howard Isley was trying to break ahead, and the personal foul call. The timeout. Ron Harper gets the foul. Jazz 61, Bulls 57, 2:39 remaining in the third quarter.
So 57-61, it is still a very narrow lead for the Utah Jazz over the Chicago Bulls. And John Amici are in a timeout now, but after that previous timeout, suddenly we look like a different game. You know, all the ripples in the water had smoothed out.
Yeah, I think there's a sense of urgency now for both teams. Certainly you can see it in Michael Jordan, who's really picked up his game every time down. He seems to be scoring. But Utah realizes that now they have to take control of this game in order to really be able to put it away in the fourth quarter. They know Chicago's one of the best fourth quarter teams in the league.
I know Mike talked earlier on about Howard Isley, who would be a starter in most other teams, decides to be a backup player here and enjoys himself. Quality player, isn't he?
Oh, he's a fantastic player. He's another one of those players who was probably underrated in college and certainly underrated in the draft. But Utah made a heady move in picking him up, and he's turned out to be a quality
and
player.
A guy as well who, you know, in the crunch, you know, in those fourth quarters, I mean, he's done it again. And it's kind of back to that point we talked about earlier on, is that Jerry Sloan can turn to plenty of men who can do it down the stretch, whereas, like, perhaps Phil Jackson's got Steve Kerr, but nowhere else to really go.
Yeah, I think the subs for the two teams have very different mindsets. The Utah subs know that they are integral parts of the team, and at any stage they may be called upon to win a game. The Chicago subs, I think, they're aware that for the most part, when it's winning time, when it's time for the game to be in the hands of one guy, it's going to be Michael Jordan.
Yes, we suspect he may see some of the ball in the rest of this game. Back to you, Ian and Mike. It's still tight, eh?
Yeah, I think Phil Jackson is still looking for the right rotation from his bench players. He hasn't found the perfect combination yet to counterattack this Utah team. At 61-57, you mentioned Steve Kerr. He's certainly a weapon that Jackson can use a little bit later on. Dennis Rodman is not 100%. We have seen Scott Burrell, but Utah able to add to that lead with Jeff Hornacek finally getting a basket, his first 2 of the night.
And Sloan realizes they need Jeff Hornacek to win this game, so he gets the ball in his hands and he scores a tough layup. Michael Jordan,
25 points. Jumper from Longley, and it's rebounded by Ostertag. And now Ostertag seeing extended minutes, doing a nice job for Jerry Sloan's team. Ball fake, Hornacek floats it home.
Well, the ball fake made the defense go to where he thought he was going to throw the ball, but he didn't. He held on and makes the layup, and here comes the crowd.
And just like that, Jeff Hornacek is having an influence. Utah has matched its largest lead, 8. Pippen inside the three-point arc, and he nails it, a 2-pointer.
See, the Bulls do not go away. Whenever they need a hoop, they get it. Pippen supplied it there. The crowd gets into it, and all of a sudden they just shut up.
16 points for Scottie Pippen. 65-59, Utah. Final minute 22 of action in the third quarter. Russell getting the screen set by Ostertag. Loose ball on the floor, and Longley picks it up. Now to a minute 8. We are in the third. Jazz lead by 6. They have not been able to put this Chicago team away. Pippen a three-pointer, and it's rebounded by Russell. Isley quickly up the floor. Malone sets up camp underneath, and he had it blocked away by Longley from behind. Knocked out of bounds, and Utah will hold on to it. Karl Malone has not looked like the player that has dominated the playoffs thus far.
And he'll sit down right now, Ian, as he got his shot blocked again, but the ball fell on the line, the baseline down there, so the Jazz will keep it.
15 seconds left on the 24-second shot clock. Harper looking inside. Longley will back in on Ostertag. 35 seconds left in the third. Pippen gives it up for Longley. And a 3-second violation called on Chicago.
See, on Dennis Rodman, he thought the shot was going up. When the last pass was made, that's when the official called a 3-second violation before the shot. So, good call. Rodman, an offensive rebounder, got caught in the paint area.
So the Jazz will get it back. With 30 seconds left in the third, Bulls have turned it over 11 times. Russell, foot on the line. He knocks it down for 2.
Yeah, his right foot on the line. Good call there, Ian, so it's only 2 points. If it's an inch behind there, it would have been a 3.
Jordan getting a breather for the remainder of the third quarter, and the Bulls look to finish strong as they trail by 8. Final possession, a 1-second difference, shot clock to game clock. Pippen guarded by Russell. Pippen fending off. Finds Kukoc a three-pointer. No good. Rebounded by Hornacek. 2 seconds. 1 second. A heave at the buzzer. Half court. Nearly got it to drop as it hits the rim. That's the end of the third quarter in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Jazz 67. The Bulls 59. Utah 12 minutes away from capturing the opener here in the NBA Championship Series.
And so we're nearing the end now, not long to go, and we have a gap opened up a little bit here. Utah Jazz have managed to get a bit of air between themselves and the Bulls. John Amici, it's kind of crucial last minute or so going on there, wasn't there? A couple of missed shots, and that's when these like little point gaps get so big. Yeah, it's important. Phil Jackson, everybody knows, usually rests Jordan in the last minute before the quarter to try and give them that extra piece of rest. And Utah really had to take advantage and maintain at least their lead, and they did that well. So fundamentally, exactly, they're where they want to be, but you still think they'll be looking at double figures at this stage, wouldn't you? As Ian and Mike said, the Bulls just won't be shaken off, will they? Certainly. To feel comfortable, you'd like to have a double-figure lead on the Bulls going into the fourth quarter. But Utah's a solid team. They're a smart team, and they've been together a long time. You would think that now would be a time when they can pull it together. Hornacek, the quiet man, we talked about how little he'd done, and then there he was. And again, as the guy said, it looked like they deliberately brought him into the game, because I think they're going to need him in this last quarter, aren't they? Oh, certainly. They need his outside shooting. They need his overall game on the floor. And we said with a little more ball movement, they'd be able to get him more involved, because he's not a player that really gets his own shots. Absolutely. Well, Hornacek, he's going to need to get into this last quarter. And Ian and Mike, I must ask, as John Amici has just said there, Mike likes to take a rest in that last quarter, perhaps for a couple of minutes. Do you sense we might see him a bit earlier tonight?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to see him a bit early, because Phil Jackson just has not found many answers offensively from the rest of his players. And it's been all Michael Jordan. Dennis Rodman not playing 100%. It looks like Jordan will remain on the bench for the start of the fourth quarter, but if this becomes a 10-point, 12-point deficit for the Bulls, Jackson's going to have to make that change, Mark. 67-59, Jazz in front as we start play in the fourth quarter. Scott Burrell has been inserted into the lineup along with Steve Kerr. He's joined by Kukoc, Rodman, and Buechler. Tony Kukoc buries it from the outside. That's a two-pointer, and that's a player that could step forward in the absence of Jordan and Pippen.
And Ian, very rarely do you ever see Pippen and Jordan on the bench at the same time when the game is not in doubt. I mean, if it's a blowout, they're certainly on the bench, but both of them right now to start the fourth quarter. So Phil Jackson showing some confidence in his bench players.
Russell, pump fake, got it over Dennis Rodman and off the glass.
See, he didn't call it. When he's straight on like that, you just want to swish the ball. You don't want to use the glass there. With plays like that, make me think it might be Utah's chance.
He'll take it though, Mike.
Oh, won't give it back.
15 points for Russell. And a whistle stops play as Kukoc made the drive. He was trying to pass off to Judd Bushler, and a foul called on Antoine Carr.
That's a tough matchup. There's Russell. See, when he's straight on like that, you don't want to use the glass. You want to try to swish it in, but they certainly won't take it off the scoreboard.
69-61. First minute of play complete in the fourth quarter. Scott Burrell has the range, but can't convert for two. Knocked out of bounds by Kukoc.
And that's a good play by Kukoc. It stops any type of fast break. You have to reset now and play 5-on-5. For the Jazz, it's Isley, Anderson, Russell, Carr, and Ostertag. Utah going big up front. And the Jazz cough it up. Anderson turns it over. Burrell gives up his dribble. And now it's Kerr. No natural point guard on the floor, but in fact, the Bulls don't really have a natural point guard on their roster. Rodman, a turnaround jump shot. Not known for his offensive game, and that's a reason why Dennis Rodman is now 0 for 2 shooting. Jazz looking for their largest lead. Carr in a matchup with Kukoc. Ostertag sets the screen. Stands tall like a parking meter. And back the other way, Burrell with a steal and slam. Tell you what, I think the matchup was Isley against Kerr. They didn't use it. Jerry Sloan wants a timeout. So Sloan will take a full timeout with 9:59 left in the fourth. 69-63. Jazz lead it.
It's the NBA Finals live on Channel 4. Salt Lake City, Game 1, Utah Jazz versus the Chicago Bulls. And it is now a 6-point lead for the Utah Jazz. And John Amici, that was 2 crucial minutes there for both teams because that's without Pippen and Jordan in the game, and they've managed to nick it back 2 points off of that lead.
Certainly, when the pivotal players are on the bench, it's very important that you're able to at least hold the fort while they rest. But it's worrying for Utah that they weren't able to put some more points on the board. It's something that certainly will be a concern for them.
We saw a nice old-fashioned shot. Should have been in black and white. Brian Russell, a bank shot from long distance. Don't get a lot of that for your money nowadays.
Yeah, this is the horse shot here. It's good when you're playing horse, but you really would prefer to have a little more control on the ball, I think.
That's right. But it's a lovely use of the glass, which is what we like to see. Yeah. You know, as I say, 2 minutes gone in that half. We may well see the two fellas come off the bench now, but this is the point in basketball where things really start to get crucial, aren't they? How's the scales going at the moment for you?
Well, right now, I had expected Malone and Stockton to really be clicking by this point in the game. It seems that Jordan right now is going to take the weight of the entire team on his shoulders and take over. If I was Utah, I'd be very concerned right now. I think it looks like the mood is swinging towards Chicago.
And we talked obviously about the Utah bench earlier on, and we know the faces from there. Look at a young guy like Scott Burrell, great still, gets himself 2 points. Could be an important 2 points as well. Let's go back to the floor.
I think you guys were right on the money, though. That was an important 2-minute stretch where the Utah Jazz had a chance to deliver the knockout punch. They couldn't do it as the Bulls remain alive. Karl Malone comes up short. This has been a nightmare game 1 for the mailman. He has 4 of 15 shooting. Again, falling away from the hoop, not going to the rim, but falling away. It makes it a tough shot for him. Bulls staying in this game with Jordan and Pippen on the bench, getting a rest. Kerr for Kukoc. Shot clock is down to 4. Burrell forced to put it up. Can't hit the 3. Ostertag taking up space, and he claims the rebound. See, no Jordan, nothing quick. A lot of waste of time on the shot clock. Then Burrell tries to bail him out with a long one. Malone with Rodman. He'll try it again. Karl Malone really struggling. He'll get another attempt if he wants it as Morris saves the day with the offensive rebound.
And Phil Jackson over talking to Bennett Salvatore, saying an over-the-back foul, but nothing was called.
Isley trying to set it up. Anderson posting up Bushler. And a foul called on the interior. No! A 3-second violation on the Utah Jazz.
See, Shandon Anderson had his right foot in on the painted area. Referee Steve Javy there makes the call. See, Jordan wants to come in as we take a look at Malone. But on the violation, he's not allowed to come in the backcourt.
Karl Malone came into this game shooting 46% in the playoffs, averaging 27 points per game. He is 4 of 16 so far tonight, just 11 points. Burrell, the penetration. He put that one off the glass.
That's a tough shot for Scotty Burrell as he goes to the basket. And I'll tell you what, it's a precarious 4-point lead for Utah.
69-65. Isley in a mismatch with Kukoc. Malone will put it up. Karl Malone can't buy a basket. And his misfortune is allowing the Bulls to remain in this game. They trail by just 4. Rodman. Scott Burrell can't convert. And Malone clears out the rebound. Stockton guarded by Kerr. Jazz lead it by 4. Under 8 minutes to play in the fourth. And once again, a 3-second call has been assessed. That is rare that you will see this many 3-second calls in a game of this magnitude, as Karl Malone took too many moments in the lane before he got out.
See, there he is, fighting with Rodman in there. And the referee will count on that. And I tell you what, that's a quick one, because that was in slow motion.
And look who's back. Michael Jordan. He's guarded by Anderson. Jordan got a good rest on the bench. Jordan, wild shot, it doesn't go. Jordan was looking for the whistle. Stockton finds Isley a 3-pointer. No. And Rodman the rebound, that is his 10th. Utah suddenly has gone ice cold from the field. Jordan, it's a 2-man game. Kerr and Jordan, pump fake. And a foul called as Anderson got beat on the dribble, and he was forced to foul from behind.
See, what Jordan did there was take it to the rim. He was about to take it to the rim before the foul. See, Karl Malone, on the other hand, the other superstar, is just relying on a perimeter shot that's not going in. He needs to adjust, try to get to the basket.
Jazz lead by 4. Tony Kukoc a 3. Side rim, no good. Stockton lead pass, whips it ahead. Anderson dribbled it off his toe. Out of bounds, an unforced error from the Utah Jazz. And a timeout has been taken. 6:59 remaining. We are in the fourth quarter in Utah. 69-65 Jazz.
69-65, but a 4-point lead now for the Utah Jazz. Michael Jordan back in the game. Not a lot in it, not many minutes left, John Amici, but the thing would be, we talked about at the start that the 10 days that Utah have had off might make them start rusty, and Chicago would still be warm. Different argument at this end of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think now their only hope is that their rest will help at the end of the game now, that they'll have some fresh legs. But we've seen they've had jumpers that have missed off wildly, and even almost bad decision-making, which is often a sign of fatigue. So I'm not really sure whether it's going to work out well for Utah. I'm
sure you've been in these situations before where you're dog-tired for 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes later you're suddenly up again because the adrenaline's going, and the Bulls have got to feel that the incentive's with them at the moment.
Certainly. A lot of things are going right for them now. Jordan has been playing very well. Pippen has come up with some good shots, and Scott Burrell has given them some good minutes too.
Do you think that at this particular stage it is down to fitness, or is it just savvy now? I mean, because the Bulls know where they're going to go with the ball, don't they?
Of course. You would think it's down to experience at this stage of the game, but they both have a lot. But again, Chicago has a lot of experience of winning.
That's right. And as Ian and Mike mentioned earlier on, Karl Malone and Michael Jordan, your two key players, very different games tonight, eh, fellas?
Yeah, very much so. It's been Michael Jordan leading the way for the Bulls, and Karl Malone, who has actually hurt the Utah Jazz. They have gone nearly 4 minutes without scoring. Russell can't hit it. On the inside, following his own shot, no call. A lot of contact on the interior. The officials just letting these two teams go at it.
And they should. Russell tried to get contact, forgot about the concentration. And Utah 1 of 6 shooting.
In the fourth quarter, Longley gets the swing pass, the bump. Kerr splits defenders, and he gives up the basketball. Steve Kerr was in uncharted territory. He's not a penetrator. Malone finishes the break with a slam dunk.
And that play right there will open up the rim for Karl Malone.
The Bulls take a timeout, a 20-second timeout for Phil Jackson in Chicago. Oh, did the Utah Jazz ever need that? This crowd was getting a bit antsy, wondering when Utah would break out of this fourth quarter funk. And they did in style with the steal and the slam.
See, there's Russell with the long pass. Stockton knows Malone's running. Beautiful bounce pass. Defense doesn't get it. Malone needs that. And I'll tell you what, Ian, that will open the rim for him. The next perimeter shot he takes, he'll make now because he gets his confidence back a little bit with that slam.
Jazz lead it 71-65. Now coming up, the WNBA will be opening its season on June 11th. Second year of the WNBA as the NBA continues to sponsor the WNBA and the women that are making that an exciting league to watch. 5:52 left. We are in the fourth. This is game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals, live from Salt Lake City. Kerr thought about it for 3. The Bulls will try to ride Jordan, and he draws the foul. Michael Jordan is going to the free throw line with his team down by 6.
See, I think Jordan wanted to get Kerr a shot, but Kerr put it back because the defense was on him. There's the reach, so Jordan continued to try to take the shot, so he gets free throws out of that. 2 free throws. 3rd team foul for Utah. Chicago has no team foul.
Jordan has not missed from the line until that shot. Michael Jordan in the playoffs thus far. You see the numbers. First round against the Nets, 36 points per game. Just under 30 against the Hornets, and just under 32 against the Pacers as he splits a pair of free throws, and it's a 5-point game.
And the fact that he missed the first one, he concentrates and makes sure he makes the second one.
26 points for his airness. 71-66, Utah. 5.5 to play in the fourth. Stockton and Malone, what a combination they have been. Malone bumping bodies with Pippen, who draws the assignment. Kerr comes over the help. Fadeaway jumper, rims out. And Longley has the rebound for Chicago.
Well, I thought for sure Malone would hit that shot because of the dunk before, but it still rolls out for him.
Jordan, the back in on Morris. There's the double team. Jordan, the jump shot. No. And it's rebounded by Russell. Utah will bring it up the floor quickly. Stockton surveying the scene. And Russell will back it out. He's picked up by Pippen. Dumps it inside. Malone is forced to the outside by Rodman. And a personal foul has been called on the enigmatic forward for the Bulls.
Yeah, not in the act of shooting, so it should be a side out. See, there's Malone. He gets contact from Pippen, backs him down, falls away.
Got a good look.
The shot's right there, and it just rolls out from him. He's having one of those nights.
5 of 19 from the field, Karl Malone. But the Jazz lead it 71-66. Under 5 minutes to play. Malone slams it down. Karl Malone. And the fans rise to their feet here at the Delta Center. Chicago takes a full timeout.
The NBA Finals live. It is game 1, Salt Lake City. Utah Jazz now 73-66. They've opened it up a little bit against the Chicago Bulls. Couple of slam dunks from Karl Malone as the lane opened up for him. But John Amici, outside in his favoured position, not quite right.
No, certainly. Karl's known for his great shooting touch, especially on the quick turnarounds and the fadeaways, but as we've seen, he hasn't been able to make one tonight. And
it's at this stage, you know, where Utah have been so impressive in their run, because Malone has got the ball last 5 minutes and just made those runs. I mean, they are the classic daggers in the heart of the opposition, aren't they?
Yeah, well, again, they went to the classic thing. They went to the Malone-Stockton pick and roll, leaving him wide open to come down the lane, and nobody's going to stand in his way.
Now, a minute or so ago, in terms of playing time, Chicago were very close, perhaps 4 points, something like that, opened up a bit. And at a stage when it's going to be very difficult to pull it back, isn't it?
Certainly. I think Utah finally decided they're going to double-team Michael Jordan in the post and not let him have these easy twos, at least put some pressure on him. And that's really helped to slow down the ball movement of the Chicago Bulls. And I think it's allowed Utah, with their better offensive play, to take control.
But I guess to a certain extent as well, we've also seen more mistakes than you would normally expect in your average NBA game with great players. But we are talking about game one of the NBA Finals, so perhaps that's understandable. OK, lads, it's back to you. It's the last crucial few minutes.
And the crowd has really come alive here at the Delta Center as Luke Longley is hacked underneath the basket, fouled very hard, and he'll shoot 2 free throws.
There's so much concentration on Michael Jordan that Luke Longley was wide open in the half-court offense. I'll tell you what, it was a big foul by Ostertag. He threw Longley down. It could have been a flagrant foul where Chicago would not only get these free throws, but possession. But Longley will shoot 2 here.
Longley, a good free throw shooter, 90% during the postseason, and he cuts into that Utah lead. It's 73-67 Jazz. Longley with 7 points.
And Jackson playing offense, defense. I see Kukoc go out now. Rodman back in the game. So on any dead ball situations, Rodman will be in there for defense, and I should say Kukoc would come in on the offensive end.
Luke Longley with the second free throw attempt. Fans waving those balloons to no avail as Longley calmly sinks both free throws. And a 5-point Utah lead.
And if the Jazz will win this game, Karl Malone has to get out of his shooting slump. He needs to score some baskets because the Jazz depend on him in the half court.
Stockton forced to the outside with 10 left on the 24. Stockton zigzagging. Floats a pass. Morris, the pump fake. Pull-up jumper. Off the glass. Chris Morris connects.
Boy, a guy you wouldn't think would even be in the game this late comes through with a big jump shot.
And a guy that was traded away to the Orlando Magic only to see the deal null and void because Ronnie Cycli did not report. Michael Jordan answers right back with a jump shot.
Boy, wide open, too, on the side. That's like putting money in the bank, Jordan getting that shot.
And he's got a lot of money to put in that thing. 28 points for Jordan. And a 5-point Utah lead. They just can't shake the Bulls. Stockton gives up the dribble. Shot clock is down to 6. Jumper from the corner. Morris can't hit. And it's rebounded by Longley. The Bulls very much alive, trailing by 5. Jordan, he'll take the pull-up jumper and hit. Michael Jordan, 30 points, and he is burning the Utah Jazz here in game 1.
Well, he knows it, he feels it, and he'll take control of the game. Remember, he's had a good rest in this quarter.
75-72 Jazz, under 3 minutes to play in the 4th. Malone can't hit. Karl Malone just does not have any answers offensively here this evening. A 3-point Utah lead. Pippen on the outside for Kerr. Pippen will put it up for the tie. He's got it. Scottie Pippen drills it for 3. 75-75. Jazz and Bulls all locked up, and a timeout. Utah takes a timeout with 2:34 to play in the 4th. The Bulls have come back, and it's a tight one with time running out in the 4th quarter of game 1.
Welcome back to the I Told You So department. At the very start of this particular game, we said this could be one of the biggest game 1s you're ever going to see in an NBA Finals because there was a chance this one could go to the team on the road. And John Amici, 75 apiece now all of a sudden. And 2 minutes ago, we're sitting there talking about a 7-point lead for the Jazz.
Yeah, you've got to be very confident if you're Chicago right now. You've pulled back. You've got all the shots that you want. I mean, you're making a lot of good shots too, but you're certainly getting the looks that you need in the end of a game. You would expect more pressure from Utah, for sure. And also, you would expect Utah to be going inside to try and get those fouls that you would expect to get in a home court situation.
Quite. You're going for twos and perhaps the and one with it, the foul. And then you go and get this Scottie Pippen three-pointer. Out of nowhere, the man takes the big one.
The dagger in the heart. That type of shot, it proves he's a big-time player. He's always said he has. And we said he needed to turn up while Michael Jordan was on the floor as well, and he's showing his worth now. Because
as you say, technically, as a player, you know, on a team like that, you know, you're looking to make those extra points probably by being closer to the basket, aren't you? You don't really want to be taking three-pointers, do you, at this stage?
Well, Scottie Pippen, he's renowned as a slasher and a driver to the basket, but he does have touch from range, and certainly was bold enough to take that shot.
And again, you look at the faces there. We saw a lot of close-ups of faces, and you just seen a complete change of emotion again. You know, the Jazz look forlorn.
The emotion has been drained from Utah. They're not getting the shots they need right now.
Exactly, and Karl Malone, their main man, is just not doing the job. Can he do it now in these closing minutes? Let's go back to the floor.
And on cue, Karl Malone has it blocked away on the inside. The Bulls can take the lead, amazingly enough. Scottie Pippen can't hit it. And Utah has the rebound. 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Game one of the final, 75-75. The Jazz had control, seemingly, here in the fourth. The Bulls have battled back. Malone establishing position with Longley. Facing the basket, Karl Malone. He hits.
All right, that's a big shot of, obviously, Ivan. Not only it gives him the lead, but it has to make the rim a little bit bigger for Malone, who has struggled here from the perimeter. Even had a shot blocked before that.
77-75, Utah. A minute and a half left in the fourth. Jordan, he has been incredible. 30 points. Jordan with a shot clock winding down. Can't hit it, it rims out. Malone with the rebound.
That's a major league rebound by Karl Malone over Rodman, and a surprising miss by Michael.
Utah with the ball and a 2-point lead, just over a minute to play in the fourth.
They're coming back to Karl Malone, Ian, inside against Longley. If he doesn't get it, he'll come up and screen and go to a spot to get a jumper.
There's the pick and roll. Malone, the jump shot. Got it! Karl Malone. He's been struggling all night long, but he has saved the best for last. A huge jump shot with under a minute to play gives Utah a 4-point lead. A full timeout has been called by Chicago.
Seconds to go, NBA Finals, Game 1. Karl Malone does nothing, comes back with 4 points and a rebound. 4-point lead for the Utah Jazz. And John Amici, the Bulls were there. And then you kind of get little moments like this. We've got Michael Jordan heading back to the bench, and there's a little bit of anxiousness, bit of tetchiness going on. Michael's not smiling, is he?
He doesn't look happy.
No. I think Scotty was expecting the double thumbs up there, wasn't it? And it wasn't coming, was it?
No, it's interesting to see that kind of reaction during a game of this magnitude. Normally, any aggravation that there is on the court can wait until after the game's over.
And I think there could be a sense of the fact that Michael knows he's meant to have the ball in his hands and shooting all the time in the last couple of minutes.
Well, he has been feeling it the whole game, and certainly in the last quarter, so perhaps he feels that it's his responsibility to finish this game off as well.
Pippen scored one, missed one, and then suddenly Karl Malone, I mean, this is bizarre, isn't it? A man who can do nothing.
Well, we've been expecting Karl Malone to play well. We expected it after halftime, I think. But if he can come up with it at the end, it's amazing how forgiving the fans will be. You can miss 10 in a row, and you make your last 2 and then get a huge rebound.
Absolutely. And if he carries on like this and they take the game, hey, he's going to be a hero again. Let's get back to the guys.
Scottie Pippen driving to the basket, and a blocking foul has been called. So Pippen will go to the free throw line as Malone watches from the floor.
Tough call there, Ian. It was a little delayed call. Again, a lot of attention given to Michael Jordan. Pippen did the right thing by going to the rim.
Is that the right call, Mike?
Yeah, right there. Malone moving. See, he's still moving. You can't get an offensive foul there if you're moving. You have to be stationary as a defensive player. I don't think Malone was. I think the official made a nice call.
Scottie Pippen hits the free throw. He is 5 of 5 from the line tonight. 20 points. And the Bulls are within 3.
And Ian, only about 4 seconds went off the clock there where the Bulls are getting points. That's another key in this. If Pippen makes this, it'll be a 2-point game, and they scored in a hurry.
Pippen gets the roll on the second attempt. 79-77 Utah. 48 seconds to play in the fourth.
They'll come back to Stockton and Malone again. Malone has hit 2 in a row. He's kept the Utah Jazz in front.
Malone the back, and he draws the double. Kick out. Russell a 3. No good. Rebounded by Jordan. The Bulls trailing by 2 with the ball. Jordan trying to force the action, driving in for the pull-up jumper. Pippen trying to follow it. Pippen gathers in, and he calls a timeout. Scottie Pippen, what a tremendous play following the Michael Jordan miss, having the presence of mind to call the timeout with 23.6 seconds left. And we will keep it right here at the Delta Center. The Chicago Bulls will have the ball for the final possession if they want it. Only a fraction of a second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. Here's another look.
Yeah, Jordan did what he had to do. No timeout was called. He went right there, but Pippen in there, inside the defense, gets it. He's going to fall out of bounds. What does he do? He calls timeout. A very heads-up play. Let's get the timeout situation straight. The Chicago Bulls have 1 full timeout left. On the other hand, the Utah Jazz have 2 full timeouts plus a 20-second timeout. That could loom large because what I think here, because the Chicago Bulls are down 2 points, there's the timeout situation. We just talked about it. And what fouls to give mean is that Chicago only has 1 team foul, so they have 1 foul to give. You cannot have more than 2 fouls under 2 minutes, so when they commit their next foul, after that there'll be shots coming for Utah. But that's not important right now. What's important is that man, Michael Jordan. With 23.6 seconds left, Chicago will try to score in a hurry. I believe they'll give the ball to Jordan, and if there's a double team, he'll give it up. If not, he'll take it to the rim.
It's coming right down to the wire, guys. Mark and John, it's been a great game. Maybe not the best played game we've seen, but very competitive.
Yes, indeed, Ian, and perhaps what we thought we were looking for, the one the Bulls thought they could steal on the road, John.
It's been a close one the entire way. It's only been a matter of single figures either way, and certainly it's still not out of the Bulls' hands here.
We've got ourselves, as the guys are chatting about there, the options they've got, a couple of 3 plays probably left in the game, timeouts. Is it simply now Jordan and then Stockton Malone?
Yeah, it's a question of execution of the plays for your big players. Jordan and Pippen on Chicago's side and Stockton and Malone on the other.
Okay, so it's time for the stars to shine. Let's see if they can do it in these last few seconds. Back to Ian and Mike.
23.6 seconds remaining. 4th quarter of game 1. Jazz 79, Bulls 77. Chicago looking for the tie or the lead. Bulls with the basketball.
A tough place to inbounds, right there by the baseline and the sideline. It's a tough place to get it in, but no problem.
Jordan gets it in for Pippen. Jordan with his team down by 2. Jordan flicks a pass over to Longley, leaning in. Layup is good. Luke Longley ties this game at 79. And a timeout called by the Jazz with 14.3 seconds left. 79-79. Utah will have 1 final chance, or we'll be headed to overtime here at the Delta Center.
And people might be wondering, why did the Bulls go so fast? Well, the reason why they tried to score in a hurry was that if they missed, they'd get another chance, maybe to get a rebound or get, foul the Jazz, and maybe they would miss free throws. But that play was set up for Michael Jordan to draw the attention. He whipped the pass right back to Longley, who made a tough shot off the glass.
And that has to do a lot for Luke Longley's confidence, because everybody in this arena, and I'm sure everybody watching this game tonight on Channel 4 thought this would be Michael Jordan's shot. It wasn't.
It wasn't. What he did, Ian, was he drew everybody to him, and then they were late getting over to Luke Longley, and he used the glass very well from the side, and that ties the game up. And now Utah calls the timeout, so they have the choice, folks. Because they did not advance the ball. There's the Jordan again, around a triple team. Gets it over to Luke Longley, who lays it up and in off a tough one.
There have been so many fantastic finishes in this year's NBA postseason. Reggie Miller, the heroics for the Indiana Pacers. Western Conference, it's been a struggle for the Utah Jazz to get out of that first round, but after that they took care of San Antonio and then made easy work of the Los Angeles Lakers. The question now, Mike, Who do the Jazz go to in the final seconds with 14.3 remaining, game tied up?
Well, I think they'll go to what they do best. They'll go to Stockton and Malone in the screen and roll. Stockton will handle it. And then they'll try to get, they're going out of here with the last shot, Iron. They don't want to put a shot up where Chicago can get it and maybe win it themselves. But a guy could end up like Brian Russell or Jeff Hornacek, who's been quiet. Guys like that, where the attention is drawn to Malone and Stockton, one of those two guys could show up and maybe hit the last shot.
So here's our situation. The Jazz and Bulls all tied up, 79-79 in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Utah with home court advantage, but a loss here to Chicago, and that quickly changes. Fans now beginning to make some noise, urging their Utah Jazz team on here in the final moments. This was the play that tied it up. Michael Jordan electing to pass off to Luke Longley, who put it on the floor and leaned in for the bank shot.
They made a tough shot because there was Russell and Malone over there to try to hack at it. Very interesting here that the Jazz elect to go full court with 14 seconds. They could have gotten the ball out at half court and saved themselves about 5 feet. I don't like this strategy. I'd like to go half court where you pick up the time.
Here we go. Malone gets it into Stockton. Utah looking for the win. Stockton goes around a screen set by Malone.
They had a foul to give, Ian. They had a foul to give. They used it, and they used up about 6 seconds or so. See, they only committed 1 foul through the 4th quarter. You have 1 to give. That means the next foul like that, there would be shots. Smart play by Chicago.
7.3 seconds now put on the clock. And Brian Russell will throw it in. 79-79. The Jazz and Bulls all tied up. Russell looks. And Bennett Salvatore blows the whistle.
Delay a game warning, Rodman and the Bulls. In other words, he stepped over the sideline on the inbound pass. That stops the game, you get 1 warning. It's not like an illegal defense, you get 1 a game. If there would be another one of those plays, there would be a shot, a technical free throw. Kukoc in, Longley out. You know what I'm surprised at, Ian? That Steve Kerr is out on the floor and not Randy Brown or Ron Harper.
Let's see if it comes back to haunt the Bulls with 7.3 seconds left. Once again, Russell will toss it in. Kukoc with those long arms will guard. Russell looks for the open man. Russell can't find an open man and is forced to take a timeout, a 20-second timeout called by the Jazz, as Russell did not want to get the 5-second count, which would have turned it over and given the Bulls a chance to claim victory.
Yeah, you get 5 seconds to get it in. See, Jordan's telling Javi there, I don't know, that was a long 5 seconds. That means that they would have, you know, if the foul, not a foul, if the violation was called, then Chicago would get the basketball. You have 5 seconds to get in. Smart play by Russell.
Coming into this series, I think everybody felt that this would be a highly contested, close 7-game series, potentially going the distance 7 games. If game 1 is any indication, we are in for a good one.
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I think, except for maybe 1 game out of the 7, I think it will go 7. There'll be 1 blowout along the line, but everything will be pretty close.
You see the timeout situation, each team with 1 full timeout remaining. 79-79, Jazz and Bulls. Deadlock. 7.3 seconds left. Russell gets it into Hornacek. Out to Stockton. 3 seconds left. Stockton the jumper. No good. Pippen controls the rebound. He tried to take a timeout. Time has run out in regulation, and we are headed to overtime. John Stockton had an opportunity to win game 1 on his own with a jump shot. He could not do it. Another look.
Well, I'm really surprised Hornacek gave it up, but Stockton with a tough shot there, and it hits the front rim and then bounds over and hits the top, and a good no call. Stockton right there thought he had it. It goes short. You can see the disgust on his face as he knows it misses.
79-79. The Jazz and Bulls headed to OT here in game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. Wow, what a way to open this series. As we get 1 more look, Hornacek giving it up for Stockton. Stockton on line, but a little bit short side rim as time runs out. 79 apiece. Jazz and Bulls all tied up. Let's head back to the studio. Mark and John.
And if you've never had the pleasure of overtime, you're going to get it now. Tea, toast and tension for you. Good morning. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. I know we are. John and Misha, we said this game one. We keep saying it all the time down here. I mean, this one is clearly proving to be. It could be the pivotal one. It's the first game.
It'll be the tone setter for the series for sure. Right now, Utah, even if they win this game, has got to be uncomfortable. They haven't played their good basketball. They haven't played their style of basketball that they've been playing all season. That's been successful for them.
Now, we looked at at that last play there. Do you suspect that's what they wanted to do, is end up with the ball in John Stockton's hands out there? I mean, probably not, was it?
No, definitely not. That's not the shot they wanted. When Hornacek got the ball in bounds, he certainly had a better look at the basket than John Stockton did.
But a man who hasn't had a look at a basket pretty much all night, perhaps didn't fancy it.
Exactly. He hasn't really had any shots since the second quarter, so it's difficult to expect him to come in and hit the game winner.
Tell me about this. I mean, we've got 5 minutes now, haven't we, of action, and they pick themselves up some more timeouts. It's a little game in itself. How do you approach this as a player, these 5 minutes?
Well, you really look at this as another game in itself. People have often said that you look at the overtime situation, and the team that comes out and scores first is oftentimes the team that wins the series.
Do you suspect that we're into that kind of situation again? I mean, you get the feeling that both teams know full well the situation they're in, and Utah, that means that they're the ones who may lose that home court game.
Well, it's crunch time now, and so this is the point where we really find out who the superstars and the superstars of superstars are. We'll see.
Well, perhaps it's arguable if anyone's got a role coming into a 0-0, it might be the Bulls. What do you two think back there?
Well, I would think the advantage goes to Chicago. Mike and I were just discussing it as you guys were analyzing it. I think the Bulls have put a scare into the Utah Jazz coming all the way back in the fourth quarter. And I think Chicago has the advantage in this overtime.
And they have the guy Jordan who'll create for himself or someone else. And there's Pippen with the miss, but I'll tell you what, I'd still favor Chicago in this because Utah had the game won, they didn't get it done, and now Chicago gets a second chance.
Let's see if the Jazz come out a bit gun-shy here in the extra session. It is overtime in Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. Tied at 79. Stockton gives up the dribble. Hornacek out front. Hornacek with a shot clock winding down to 1. He can't hit. Fight for the loose ball, and Pippen has it. Pippen up the floor with those long strides. Utah gets back defensively. Kerr remains on the floor for Chicago. Still waiting for our first scoring of overtime. Jordan draws the double. Longley. He can't convert. And Hornacek has it for the Jazz over to Stockton.
I'll tell you, championship wrestling in there with Malone and Rodman to try to get that board.
Just over a minute gone by in OT. Stockton using the screen. There's the roll. And the finish. Karl Malone. The scoop to the hoop off the glass.
Yeah, he didn't worry about a long shot there. He took it right to the rim, laid it up and in off the board.
Jazz lead by 2. Pippen had it knocked away. Hornacek picked his pocket. Stockton the other way for the layup. And the foul. John Stockton is going to the free throw line, and a chance to add to Utah's lead.
See, he's got his pocket pick. Malone first goes to the basket, gives the Jazz the lead. Then on the ensuing play, watch the hands of Hornacek. He reaches in, knocks it away. Stockton gets it. Watch him go up. He's looking to see if he can pass it. No, I'll take it all the way. Kerr came by and made the silly foul.
John Stockton hits the free throw, and it's Utah with a 5-point lead in overtime. Well, forget about the so-called experts. So far, it's in all Utah in the extra session. And a foul out front as Michael Jordan made his move. Brian Russell with the touch foul.
And everything resets here. You get the 14 fouls, then you shoot in overtime. You get 3 timeouts each as a team. So the foul there really doesn't mean anything other than a side out for the Chicago Bulls.
Coming up on 3 minutes remaining in overtime. Jordan wants to take over, and he is fouled by Greg Ostertag. Ostertag was not going to allow Michael Jordan to get a clean shot off, so Jordan will go to the free throw line.
And Jordan took it like a man, too. Watch Hornacek reaches in, knocks the ball away from Pippen. Stockton, watch his head, folks. He's looking to see if he'll make a pass. Nothing to make a pass for, he takes it all away.
Michael Jordan, 30 points. As he connects on the first free throw, and the Jazz lead is down to 4.
And in the act of shooting, he gets to shoot 2 free throws. He makes the first.
Jordan bidding for his 32nd point of the evening. Comes up short. And Utah has the loose ball. That's a big miss.
This is a major possession here. A 6-point lead in overtime is a lot to handle.
Stockton, defended by Kerr. Shot clock is down to 7. Stockton the jumper. No good. Longley couldn't grab it. Russell is wrestling for it. And a timeout taken by the Bulls. Luke Longley, as he hit the deck, called the timeout.
I don't see how you can get a timeout there. Longley didn't have sole possession of that basketball. Russell had his hands on it too. A very questionable call there for Chicago. Here, watch the shot by Stockton. It's going to come off. Longley seems to get it along with Russell. See, it's loose. It's loose. See, Russell still has his hand there. Longley tries to call timeout. There's no possession. That's a bad call.
So the Bulls possibly getting away with one, as Luke Longley was in a tussle for the basketball. And, you know, usually you'll see a jump ball called in that scenario.
And that's the scenario. Look at Jerry Sloan. He sees it. He's saying the same thing we just said, Ian. He had no control. He had no control. Shouldn't have been a possession there. You have to have control, he said. He laughs it off. So Chicago gets a break there. That should have been a jump ball at the free throw line of Utah.
84-80, Jazz with the lead in overtime. 2:42 to play in the extra session. Dennis Rodman just lounging on the Bulls bench during this timeout.
Is he at a game, or is he getting ready to have lunch?
I think he's getting ready to go to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I read that today too.
Dennis Rodman has stated that he will go to Las Vegas following this game tonight. Spend some time there overnight, and Phil Jackson has given it the stamp of approval, saying that that's how Rodman gets his rest. Here's another look.
See, Russell there came in along with Longley. Longley goes to the floor, so does Russell. And 2 hands. See, Pippen's over there calling a timeout, but no one had possession. No one had clean possession of the basketball.
So the Bulls will hold on to it. Trailing by 4. 2:42 left in overtime. There's Rodman going with the yellow and black coloring for the NBA Finals. You see the timeout situation. And the Bulls with possession. Jordan with his team down by 4. High screen set by Longley. This is Kerr, gets it to Jordan. He'll back in on Russell, loses it momentarily. Shot clock at 8. Jordan, man for man, drives in. He went for the big finish, and it didn't drop for him. A reset for the Bulls, a new shot clock.
Then the ball hit the rim, so the shot clock resets back to 24.
Pippen looks to the interior. Jordan is trying to post up Hornacek. Ostertag pitches over, and Jordan connects from the outside.
Well, you give him so many opportunities, he will score. So he cuts into a 2-point game with that fall away.
Michael Jordan has 33. Under 2 minutes to play in overtime. Utah 84, Chicago 82. Stockton off the penetration. Hornacek gets around Jordan for a moment. Running one-hander, doesn't drop, and Luke Longley has the rebound. The Utah Jazz have had countless chances to possibly put the Bulls away. They have been unable to do so. Do not give the defending champions a second chance. Shot clock is down to 4. Jordan. Pump fake. Won't get it off in time. A 24-second violation and an uncharacteristic error from Michael Jordan.
It is, Ryan. No one can hear each other down there. There's too much noise. There's too much going on here. His teammates were yelling at him to put it up. but he didn't hear him. And there's a 24-second violation. Timeout, Jazz. See, he puts his palms up like, tell me, but he couldn't hear his teammates.
The suffocating defense from Utah didn't help Jordan at all either. This was earlier as Jordan went for the big finish, Ostertag and Malone, and it looked like they may have gotten the arm of Michael Jordan. It eventually led to a bucket anyway.
It came back out to him here. See, he just falls away from the defense, lofts it high, and hits nothing but the bottom of the net. And Michael Jordan with that tongue out means bad things happen to the team he's playing against.
The Chicago Bulls trailing the Utah Jazz by 2 with 1:19 left in overtime. Game 1 of the 1998 NBA Finals. We are so glad you could join us on Channel 4, live from the Delta Center.
Tell you, after a brutal series against Indiana, I don't know how Chicago is keeping that energy, you know, that will to win. I think it comes from that gentleman right there. Michael Jordan just has it. And you just couldn't hear it. Yeah, you see the shot clock's in the left corner. Jordan has the ball. And watch that thing wind down before Jordan gets the shot up.
Well, Jordan just didn't have enough time, and he couldn't hear his teammates. Mark and John, I'll tell you what, it gets very loud in this arena. I know both of you have been here to the Delta Center, and this crowd has been in a frenzy. Right now, they're taking a breather during the timeout.
Absolutely, Ian. But interestingly enough, John, Michael's got that instinctive 24-second clock in his head normally. I mean, he's the greatest player of that 24-second clock you've ever seen, isn't he?
Yeah, it's very unusual for you to see Michael Jordan not get that shot off on time. He normally instinctively knows what's going on around him.
Now, what's happening out there in the brains of the players at the moment? Again, Mike mentioned the fact that, of course, you know, they're the Bulls of the team with the small delay. Utah, the resters. Are we talking about fatigue being a factor here?
I think when it comes down to endgame situations, it's execution rather than fatigue. They're looking at this situation now. Utah doesn't want to leave them in a situation where Michael Jordan can win it with the last shot.
Absolutely. Mind you, of course, there's still game 2 to come yet with all this pressure. Back to you, Jets.
84-82, Jazz with the lead and possession. Stockton tries to feed to the corner, and Malone, and a foul call. Kerr went for the steal. Jordan went for the steal. Ball was knocked out of bounds, and Utah will hold on to it. No foul with 12 seconds remaining on the 24, 1:06 left in overtime.
Yeah, Jordan had a chance, but before he could throw that ball back in, he was out of bounds. So Utah keeps it with 10 on the shot clock.
Stockton directing traffic. He's guarded by Kerr. 5 to shoot. Stockton picked up by Rodman. Ball deflected and stolen away by the Bulls.
The offense was too close together. One guy could guard 2.
Jordan spins around the Longley screen. Jordan will back in. Shot clock is down to 10. Jordan for the tie. Got it! And they'll wave it off. Foul is called before the shot. Oh, that is very tough for the Bulls to handle right now.
Yeah, it's the first foul in the last 2 minutes, Ian. So just a side out now for Chicago. And if that foul wasn't called, there's the turnover earlier where everyone is too close together. Here's Jordan going against Hornacek, dribbling down. They call the foul in there, a touchy foul at best, and negates the basket. So just becomes a side out with 42.9 seconds here.
Tony Kukoc is checked in for Dennis Rodman. Chris Morris is in for Hornacek. Bulls down by 2. 35 seconds to play in overtime. Longley driving in on Foster, losing the ball. Fights for it out on the baseline. And the Jazz control it. They take a timeout. Ryan Russell hitting the deck, scooping up the loose ball, and wisely taking the timeout with 28.4 left. Utah up by 2.
Fine, it got back into Luke Longley's hands. He did the right thing. He went to the rim, but didn't control it. Here he goes. See, it's one-on-one with Ostertag. There's no foot speed with 0-0. Watch Longley go. Gets around him. The reach in by Russell. It's loose. If you want to win championships, you come up with loose balls. It's loose again. Look at Russell get it and call a T. He calls a timeout, which means they'll keep possession.
Luke Longley, who hit the big shot in regulation to send this game to overtime. He tied the game in the waning moments of the fourth quarter. Longley was trying to be the hero again.
And why not? He had confidence. I think Jordan would respect that. He would respect it a little bit more if he made the shot again. Not turn it over. But not only did Brian Russell knock it away, but he got control of it.
You think he'd respect him more if he hit the shot?
Oh, no question.
I think so, too. Well, you see the timeouts. Utah still with 2 remaining. Chicago has 1 with 28.4 seconds left. The Jazz with a 2-point lead, and they will have the basketball. But as we've discussed throughout, Utah has had opportunity after opportunity to stick the dagger in the heart of the Bulls here in Game 1. They haven't been able to do it just yet.
And right now, Chicago will not come out to foul. There's a 4.4 second differential. And here's the play again with Longley. It's 24 seconds minus 28 there, which is 4.4. So it's still a 1-possession game for the Chicago Bulls.
But if Utah gets the bucket and the Bulls just ease back to play defense, this game is over.
So I don't think they'll ease back. They'll play tough defense, try to force a miss. And get the rebound, call timeout, get into the half court, and go for the tie.
Well, let's see what Jerry Sloan has decided to do. John Stockton had a final chance to win this game in regulation with a jump shot from the corner that was off the mark. The Jazz, though, in the driver's seat. They lead by 2 with 28.4 seconds left in overtime.
In good hands with Stockton, though, Ian.
Stockton gets it across the timeline. He's guarded by Curry. The 4-second difference, shot clock, the game clock. 9 seconds left on the 24. Down to 7. Stockton makes his move, the floater. Yes! John Stockton! A crucial shot in overtime to give the Jazz a 4-point lead. Timeout, Chicago. 9.3 seconds left. Just like we talked about, Mike, if the Jazz came up big and hit the shot, the Bulls would be in a major hole.
And they certainly are. And my thoughts on it was excellent execution by John Stockton. He was going to hold the ball on the left side until the shot clock wound down or there was a double team. The one thing that I'm surprised about in all this is that Randy Brown or Ron Harper was not in the game to guard John Stockton. They're better defenders than Kerr, and they're a little bit longer. So maybe they could have got up and maybe blocked that shot, but what do they say? Hindsight is 20/20.
And maybe Phil Jackson will look at that hindsight for Game 2, but for Game 1, it's Jerry Sloan. And his team is on the brink of celebrating a victory here in the opener. 22 points, 8 assists for John Stockton.
And that look of Jerry Sloan showed me he expected either Stockton or Malone to make a play to give his team a 4-point lead. There's the screen by Malone. Then he would go to a spot on the left side. And that's a tough shot by John Stockton. I cannot discredit the defense by Kerr, but that was a tough shot by John Stockton.
Stockton to Malone. It's a combination that will probably never be matched in NBA history. A tandem playing for so many years on the same team. And finally, they feel this is the year where they can actually take that next step and win a championship.
And they've showed me something in overtime. I had all put them back, but they've come out and showed me and this crowd and this world that they can play against the Bulls when the chips are down. It's a tie game to start the overtime, of course, and it looks like they may have a win here against Chicago.
Chicago will have to score quickly and then foul. 9.3 seconds left in overtime. Bulls down by 4. Jordan gives it up. Kukoc, three-pointer. He's good. Tony Kukoc drills it with 5.4 left in OT. The Bulls will look for the steal or the foul, and they're forced to foul with Jordan hacking Brian Russell with 4.4 left.
But that will be a side out. Bulls had one to give. That scenario again. They had under 14 fouls. So they get a foul there. It's 4.4. Malone and company have to get the ball in. Chicago will foul again. Do they ever go away, the Chicago Bulls?
No, they do not. A 1-point game. 4.8 seconds left in overtime. Utah has to get it in cleanly. The Bulls will look for the steal, and if they don't have it, they'll go for the quick foul.
If I'm Sloan, I call timeout and take the ball at half court.
Malone looking, gets it into Stockton. They fouled Stockton. With 3 seconds left on the clock, John Stockton is going to the free throw line. And even if he hits a pair, the Bulls will still have an opportunity to possibly tie this game, maybe even win it if Stockton doesn't come through.
Absolutely. The Bulls continue to extend the game. They do not go away. That was a nice play by Stockton to make himself available. Bulls did a great job of closing things out till Stockton made himself available. Then he got fouled in a hurry. And now he'll shoot the 2 free throws, Ian, as you mentioned before.
John Stockton, 72% from the line in the playoffs. So far tonight, he is 4 of 5. Phil Jackson waiting.
The crowd anxious here. They felt Stockton should be getting these free throws an hour ago. The Bulls playing some games with substitutions.
Here's the first from Stockton. It rims in. It's a 2-point game. If he hits this one, the worst that could happen to Utah is another overtime. It's an important free throw for Stockton and the Jazz.
I think the Bulls, they had no timeouts left, so they cannot call a timeout here.
Stockton, he converts, and a 3-point lead for Utah. Kukoc, long pass. Jordan, able to pass it outside. Pippen, pump fake at the buzzer. No good! He misses the 3. It would have tied it up. And the Jazz strike first. Utah holds on to win game 1 of the finals. 88-85 in overtime over the defending champion Chicago Bulls. And if this is any indication of what's to come, oh, we are going to have a classic on our hands.
They're true champions, Ian. Even though the Bulls lost tonight, they're true champions. They kept this thing close when they could have gone away. This was a beautiful play set up. The play was to Jordan to make the pass back out to Kukoc or Pippen. Watch how he touch passes it. Gets it, makes the pass. Longley blocked it a little bit, but Pippen got a decent look. But a little too long as the Utah Jazz strike first.
88-85 the final. Some anxious moments for the Utah Jazz. In fact, it came right down to the final second. Scottie Pippen could have tied it up if he hit that 3-pointer at the buzzer. But instead, it's Utah taking a 1-0 series lead in this best-of-7 NBA championship series. They win it in overtime, 88-85. Wow, what an opener.
It certainly was, and I'll tell you what, I think the Jazz will play a lot better in Game 2, so the Bulls could be in some trouble early in this series.
Well, that'll do it from the Delta Center here in Salt Lake City. Jazz, a winner tonight, 88-85. Hope you've enjoyed it here on Channel 4. Jazz, a winner.
Thanks very much indeed there to Ian and Mike, and courtside in an absolute thriller. And John Amici, that overtime, that says it all really, doesn't it? That shows how close the two teams are.
They're two very evenly matched teams. They both had very similar records in the regular season. It's to be expected that the games are going to be close.
Now, we've talked all the way through that game about how it's going to be the big men are going to have to do the big job in the end. And Malone and Stockton didn't particularly have a great 4 quarters. But when it got down to it in that last overtime, there, they did the job.
I think that's the one encouraging thing that Utah has to take away from the game. The fact that they didn't get great games from their top guys, and they still came away with a win.
Now, how do you see that? Because I think we can now safely talk about Game 2 based on the fact that we always thought Game 1 was the one that the Bulls thought they should win or could win because of that big rest for Utah. But they were very close to them. And do you think that they can draw some encouragement from this game?
Certainly. I mean, they played competitively, but they won't be encouraged because I'm sure the Chicago Bulls, whatever they've been saying before the series, they expected to come in and win this first game. That's the type of team they are. They believe that they should beat everybody, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think they'd probably look as well that they think they may have all the stuff in the right department. And perhaps they were unlucky. I mean, we talked at the start of the game about the referees looking a bit inconsistent, and there was an interesting call at the very end there. It all kind of settled down for a while there, and then we had this. Which way are you going with that one?
Well,
normally it goes with Mike.
Well, yeah, exactly. You expect Michael to get every call, but that one certainly looked like it should have been an and one.
Now, Game 2 then very quickly then, that's coming up on Friday. Another one like this?
I think it will be a close game again. Certainly, Utah will have no excuse to come out with rust on them because they know Chicago will be jumping all over them if
exactly.
they do.
Well, John Amici, thanks very much indeed. Nice to see you again. Thanks indeed to Iron and Mike, courtside as well. Yes, indeed, it's warming up. Game 2 for you is on Friday night. Make sure you're there with us.